have found our voice, we know we have a choice. Our little light is shining bright. We're all made of stars, and the future's ours. Just watch us shine, we may be small, but hear us roar. We can change the world, now watch us soar. We know what we need, it's time for us to lead. We are the ones we are waiting for.
So I will rise, we will rise, we will rise.
We can put our broken world back together. We're diamonds in the rough, we can be wise and tough. You try to bury us, but we are seeds. We won't be shy or scared, we'll arrive prepared. Just watch us shine, we may be small, but hear us roar. We can change the world, now watch us soar. We know what we need, it's time for us to lead. We are the ones we are waiting for. We're gonna rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. We're gonna rise up, rise up, rise up.
We gotta rise up when the times are tough. We gotta rise up when we're out of luck. We gotta rise to the occasion, change the equation, make sure that we help raise education. To every student in the world, this is your creation. What we do now is the gift for generations to come. So don't let them tell you that we're done, cause we're just getting started, so tell them we've just begun. Yeah.
Just watch us shine, we may be small, but hear us roar. We can change the world, now watch us soar. We know what we need, it's time for us to lead. We are the ones we are waiting for. We are the ones we are waiting for. We are the ones we are waiting for.
I will see you in 2021.
We all know that a lot of stuff that is going on in school is really not useful for life, right? Whereas a lot of stuff which is useful for life has not found its way in school.
So many students were not able to get education, or not able to afford school, or not able to go to, or not able to find a safe space.
So when you actually sit down in a safe space and have a reflective session with a bunch of people who are leading a district, you see that they didn't enjoy their education themselves. They were beaten as children. They were never given voice.
I think so many of us share a dream vision for an education system in the future that is really distinct from the past. We have dreams for teaching and learning that is more life-affirming, less rote, more human.
We want students to speak up.
School doesn't ask students while taking any decision, right? But we want to say that student as a main stakeholder of that school. So students should be asked for the decisions.
And I started to work with my Teach for Armenia teacher, and we make together movie club. And it is space where every and each person is equal with each other. And
so one of our teacher, Snehal Didi, she got to us, and we came up with a project called the Project Kaleidoscope.
You're breathed in this very polluted air that says that educators should have more power, more voice than students. And so I think it is really revolutionary to question that balance of power. And I think it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of courage.
I thought of why nobody is taking initiative in changing these things. Why are they being like this? Why is the government not doing any steps? I started to realize that blaming that nobody will change is not a good result. We must get inside it, and we must be an example for the change. We must be the start for the change.
I go to public parks and public places. I simply go, I take my djembe with me, I play it and I perform. I perform my poetries, I perform few songs, and main motto of it is to leave a social message saying stop hatred or show equality, no discrimination.
Today we have 15 student leaders in our school with more than 6 pilot projects working on diverse issues. We're working with almost 400 people.
There's an African proverb that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together.
Speak up when they have confidence. So if you want to bring a change, you need to communicate. And to communicate, you need confidence.
For making people aware, it's some first thing we need to make ourselves aware, right? So we read about the policies, we read everything, what the policy contains, what are the information we need to collect for making people aware. And then we had people who are just going around in the area and doing surveys.
When you start being open to a person or frank, the other person shares their personal issues, why the person is not speaking up.
I live in a society where just not the friends who I have in my school I communicate with, but also with people who are in government schools. So when they come and tell me like I face these kind of problems, exams, and the teachers are like this, so I will be like, oh, we have to make a change. But then all these while, I've never taken a step to make a change. So I've been a hypocrite all these while. So that pushed myself, and then I came up with a plan I joined an organization called Keynote in Chennai.
The biggest problem which I found in my city was the garbage dump yard, Pirana garbage dump yard. The practical thing that I did was to research about the garbage dump yard and the diseases caused by it to the community people towards the area.
Suddenly we started knowing that there is some illegal work happening of chemicals and everything which is not allowed in. So like what I did, like I shooted everything in my pad, and like suddenly I was caught by some people. They took my iPad, they deleted everything, and they were saying like we will kill you and everything. And then like we had a fight. Then after that day I came back, and then the second morning I again went over there with my friends, and like we shooted everything over there.
There is create a safe space where I can share something, where I can gain something. Okay.
Get ideas, different perspectives, and I also feel I can understand my strength as well as the weakness here. So I strongly feel we are all equal here. We are all equal. So each and every idea matters.
Because I want to do more things. I want to keep leveling up.
I would like to take it in a next level.
I just want to do it better and to do it bigger.
I think we all need that belonging. I don't think that we can do our biggest, bravest, most powerful work without a space of safety and true connection, and KER fosters that.
It's time for us to leave. We are the ones we are waiting for. We are the ones we are waiting.
A big warm welcome to everyone joining us today. We already met yesterday, but just to introduce again, I am Soumya and I have my co-host Kritika Didi here with us. Let's start today by thinking of a few questions before we move on to the theme. We just want to give you a little bit food for thought. So think about the people in your community or school who have inspired you, and also think about why have they inspired you. Also do think about what would you want to learn from them. So quickly take a minute, silently contemplate about it. If you wish to let us also know who are the inspiring people in your community, just do put it in the chat box. Do keep these questions and the responses which you get on the chat box in the back of your head while engaging with the facilitators today. Yesterday, we explored India and the world. Through this theme, we met change makers who are using their ideas and passion to make this world a better place. We witnessed a leadership panel on reimagining education for all children, a masterclass on the India and I curriculum, and a revolutionary talk with Haley Valdez on how she led the youth in Colorado to protest with the Black Lives Matter movement. We also had our change labs with Museum of Solutions and the various reimagined classrooms that highlighted our role in solving the problems we face as a global community today. But today we explore it all in a more zoomed in lens. How students and adult leaders have been finding solutions to problems that arise in their own schools and communities, and also how they have been bringing a change on a school and community level to reimagine education for a better world. Before we move on to the theme though, we quickly want you to brush up on the 8 C's and also think about which 2 C's you want to embody today and which 2 C's are the ones you want to operate with today. We did have a slide with the 8 C's, but we would love for you to put them in the chat box so everyone else can also brush up on them. Now that we know the 8 C's and we know what questions we're going into, and with the 2 C's we want to embody today, Kritika Didi will be talking about housekeeping and our upcoming keynote next.
Thank you so much, Soumya. Welcome everyone to day 3 of KER Week 2021. Like yesterday, we told you, at KER, we deeply believe in the power of choice and everyone having a voice to share how they want to learn. So like yesterday, we have all kinds of spaces lined up for you. We have the session stage happening right here on this live stream. For those of you who want to leave this space, again, with many diverse experiences and sparks through panels, masterclasses, and revolutionary talks. And for those of you who choose to build depth and really experience what it means to learn with and from our children, we have reimagined classrooms happening on Zoom. And lastly, we have Change Labs in collaboration with Museum of Solutions for a select group of students who will be spending 3 days solving real-world problems around them. At the end of these spaces, we will come back on this live stream for our closing, which will be followed again by the community building spaces, which is one of the most special parts of KER Week. It's just really the bonds you form and the conversations you are able to have in an informal space like that. So what we have tried to do is we've tried to provide 2 spaces, KER Chronicles, which is a safe and voluntary space for anyone who would like to share an idea, a skill, or a story. It's open to everyone, both students and educators. You can be there as a performer or as an attendee. The second space is Chat for Change. Today's Chat for Change will be hosted by Project Sitara, a nonprofit youth-led organization working with children from underserved communities. They provide inclusive and accessible education using local language and leveraging technology to reach out to children across Karnataka. This space, again, is also open for both educators and students. Now, we would love to just start our day with very inspiring Sonam Wangchuk. It's an absolute honor to have him join us from Ladakh. You must have heard about him before, but here's a little bit that I would like to share about him. Sonam Wangchuk is an engineer turned education reformist who founded SECMOL, the Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, in 1988 with the aim of transforming the government schooling system of Ladakh. For students who still failed their state exams, he founded SECMOL Alternative School Campus near Leh to create a supportive and creative environment for students who may otherwise be called failures to excel in their chosen fields. He strongly believes that children learn best by doing, which comes to life as students and teachers collectively. He is also the founder of the Himalayan Institute of Alternates, Ladakh, which strives for an education ground in the head, heart, and hand through pedagogy, collaborative teaching, and innovation. Like yesterday, the keynote address will be followed by a Q&A with our student revolutionary, Isha. Before we hear from Sonam, I would just like to bring to your notice that Sonam is joining us from Ladakh, where his internet connectivity is not very strong. Due to this, we might see a lag in the video, and I hope you'll cooperate with us for the same. Over to you, Sonam and Isha.
Hello, the education revolutionaries at Teach for India. Greetings from Ladakh and from an education revolutionary, I could say, because as a student in my school and later in my college, that's what I was doing and that's what I ended up doing even late into my life till now. So what I'll be sharing with you today is around my observations and learnings, particularly the one that young people, human young ones, are much more than they are made into. You know, they are pushed around as little pieces by schools and parents, but I have always believed that they are much more than that. By evolution, I think human young ones were always very responsible parts of their societies, as I've seen in Ladakh. In Ladakhi villages, when I was growing up, I never could understand why teenagers were taken as a problem, you know, whereas I knew that in my region, teenagers were very serious, responsible people in the society. Later, I learned that they had become a problem, perhaps because they were treated as these objects in classrooms to be made to behave and to be disciplined. And that was never the way on this planet, how nature wanted. It's only in the last 300 years that we have had schools like factories where children are made to sit and obey and be silent and listen to lectures and scribble notes. Actually, learning was never that way. In nature, over millions of years, human and other young ones also have always learned from grown-ups by doing things, by action and engaging in things. And that's what inspired us in Ladakh to start this school. When we saw that students were failing left, right, and center in the education system, 95% of the students used to fail. While we did systemic changes to bring that result to roughly 75% pass from 95% fail, we thought that even these 25% who are failing are not really failing. It's just that we are not teaching the way they learn when they don't learn the way we teach. So we need to change our teaching methods. So for these students who were not the kind that would learn from lectures and textbooks, and actually I think that is more normal, to learn from lectures and textbooks through reading and listening is more abnormal than students who really learn from engaging in real life experiences. That's more normal for me, those who fail. So therefore we experimented with a school away from the maddening noise of the cities in the middle of nowhere. We created a school which we called the Secmol Alternative School, and where the criteria of admission was not marks and percentages, but rather that you have failed in the normal system. And this school was designed and built by the students. That was the idea. We wanted the students to take leadership, take responsibility, engage in physical activities, and keep themselves learning and busy. So this school was built with the students, by the students, with help from grown-ups, yes, but this school is also run by the students. So we don't have to teach management and other governance and life skills through lectures. It's for the students to take up the reins and lead the school rather than sit as, problems to be solved by grown-up teachers and administrators. So in this school, the students run the school, manage the school, and in a very interesting way, through which they learn how to manage things in their lives, how to lead, how governance works, how real life and how countries work. So we treat our school like a little country with its own little parliament, little elections, little government that lasts for 2 months, and they take turns in leading the school, and issues of discipline really disappear. When people are given responsibility and entrusted with the system, they deliver and they stand up to the trust reposed in them. So that's how they become leaders, rather than by not trusting them to be responsible about anything. Some of these students who came into the school as failures, sometimes 4 times failures, 5 times failures, went out and became, great personalities. Maybe some of them joined journalism, others politics, and became the education minister, one of them. Others took entrepreneurship and started up various interesting startups that benefited them and benefited the society. So my idea has always been that teenagers are much more capable than what we think they are. So to keep them silent in classrooms and discipline them, nature has gifted them a lot of energy for that primordial way of learning, where it is all by doing. In the wilderness, in the forests, our ancestors, the early man, used to hunt and gather, and his young ones would learn from that at the risk of life and facing all such risks. And nature or evolution in turn would gift these young ones with a lot of energy for physical activity, for learning by doing. And when we become very clever in 17th, 18th century and put them into classes and make them sit silent, what happens is all that energy that nature had gifted and packed, preloaded in them, has to come out some way. If they are not taken into doing things where energy is used, then it comes into ugly forms like teenager rage, rebellion, and so on. One of the things they did in Ladakh was to move the population of Ladakh in interior villages around the importance of quality education. So these teenagers, who I always called the ants army, who were helpless looking, down and depressed maybe as they failed in their exams, were organized into an army of theater artists, singers, dancers, video filmmakers, and screeners. And they went out into the villages to change people's priorities from rice and kerosene to quality education. And in a democracy, when people's priorities are changed, our politicians change their priorities. So democracy starts working, and then what we see is that the leaders of our elected government in Ladakh announced education as their top policy, top priority. So you can see the leaders change their policy thanks to people's priorities, but people change their priorities thanks to this ants army of student you could say leaders actually, who led the change of mindset from kerosene and rice to education, and that led to major policy change in the government in Ladakh. So these are just some examples of how revolutionaries can create through giving our regular education rather than teaching them political science and governance through chapters in their civics book. If they make them have a system that runs the whole school, not only will they absorb all the lessons of how the governance system works, how, from parliament to panchayat things work, but also become responsible citizens who have tasted the responsibilities that it takes to make a system work. So we will not only be creating future citizens of responsibility, but also make the schools run smoothly without all the discipline issues and all that it takes to make teenagers behave. So I really am happy that you all are have launched this movement of kids education revolutionaries. This is what we have always believed in, and it's so amazing to learn about it being launched as a mainstream or a more wider platform where schools and children can join. I wish you all very best from the heights of Ladakh, and we'll be happy to share any of our experiences with you and collaborate if there are such possibilities. Thank you very much, and I'll be happy to take any questions from you at this point.
Thank you so much for sharing this, Bhaiya. I really like the idea of school for, by, and with students with the help of adults. I would like to ask you a few questions. And my first question is about changing mindset. I noticed that SECMOL is about experiential learning, and children learn with each other and they teach each other. I have studied in 5 different schools from different cities, and there everywhere marks are given utmost priority and rote learning is encouraged. How do you think we can shift this mindset in the people?
Hi, Isha. Yes, marks are a measure, like you measure water in liters, weight in kilograms, or mass in kilograms. Similarly, you would measure knowledge with the marks, but to make it revolve around marks is not a great idea. We can use the same marks to also grade how much a student learns practically and with understanding. It need not be just set questions and answers that the student repeats and then that gives them the marks. So even if marks are to be used for a large-scale system to work, I think we need to change the system so that those very indices of measurement are used in a more wiser way and involving practical learning rather than just something they write on paper and that they are marked. So I would just say that we should definitely move away from marks-driven education to learning-driven education.
Thank you. That's a valuable point. I read about SECMOL, and it's definitely an inspiration for us. Personally, I think students would love to have the SECMOL structure in our schools because it gives us freedom and it gives us the opportunity to learn rather than cramming facts. How do you think that SECMOL structure could be it could be implemented in each and every school across India?
Okay. Hi. Before I answer this, I saw that in your previous question, you had also asked about how do we shift this mindset in the people. Yes. So that part I think is important and I didn't address. Definitely at every level, the discussion, the dialogue in the society should be around learning rather than marks, but at the same time, I also believe that the people who give these marks, the boards of examination, need to bring changes in themselves so that they do not give their marks to only something written on paper, but rather based on the skills that students have acquired. So suddenly, if you find that in your board exams, there's also a question which is not written, but where you have to say, put a clock together, which is disassembled, or to open a clock and disassemble it, then suddenly parents will start helping students to do the same at home. Otherwise, they're scolded for opening the clock and not, studying from the books. But if the board exams had questions that involved practical display of knowledge, then suddenly the parents will start supporting, then suddenly the coaching centers, the school system will support learning by doing. So it is also for the system to change, I think. Now, coming to the question of SECMOL, how do you think the structure could be implemented? Yes, all over India. So for small schools like SECMOL, our aim is to experiment, innovate, and see what works and what doesn't work. What works can be scaled up by other schools. I really think that giving the management of school, or a large part of management of the affairs in a school, to the students and their bodies through elections, practicing democracy in action, is a great idea. It works, and I think more and more schools can adopt it. We hope to have modules and programs at SECMOL or the alternative university HIAL, where such schools can collaborate and see how it goes. So there has to be some institutions that experiment and fail and succeed, and what succeeds then can go to other schools and regions in India and the world. So there are such systems that we think can work in most places. So progressive schools who do not want to be stuck in the same old repetitive ritual can apply some of these principles that seem to work. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that point. As we come to the end, there are parents, educators, and students listening to you right now. Do you have any message for them?
To parents and educators, I would say that we should make much more of education than the ritual we have made it into. It should be more about learning, and it should be more driven by the interest and enthusiasm of the students, rather than with imposed power that grown-ups have through marks and through just fear. So I would say, please make education as part of their interest, and we have to work towards making that. I think the students are the center of this whole system called education. Then we have to adapt our system to their way of being. Grown-ups think differently, and children think differently. Students, teenagers think differently. So we have to adapt the system to their way of life. If they are like we say, customer is the king, so student is the king of this system. We can't impose what grown-ups think on them and then be surprised that it doesn't work. While to the students, I would say that follow what your interests are, and don't feel bad if you're not interested so much in a particular subject that other people care. Say, if you're not interested in mathematics and are interested in language and poetry, nothing wrong. You could be the best poet in the world. If you work with wood and you're interested in that, you could be the best carpenter woodworker in the world, and that's as good as anything else. And we should not impose mathematics on a wood enthusiast. That would be a crime. And that's the two sides, need to adapt to each other, and there'll be a happy world for the parents, for the educators, and for the children as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that message.
Okay.
And thank you for being here. Yes. We are really grateful that you came here and shared your views. Thank you.
Inspiring keynote, and Isha for engaging Sonam in such dialogue, right? I think my biggest takeaway was what Sonam shared about human beings being, born with the ability to learn by doing. And it got me thinking about how our schools and learning spaces can be built to serve that purpose and move away from just being about four walls and books and exams, right? Soumya, would love for you to share what was it that stood out for you in the keynote address as Sonam was sharing.
Yes, Didi, I absolutely agree with what you said. I also think experimenting with education is so important, which we highlighted. Like, we should never settle for something or, set into a comfort zone, especially in education. And I also love the distinction he made between learning-driven education and marks-driven education, which was a huge stressor for many, especially in the pandemic.
So true. As I move ahead and talk about, give you a little bit of housekeeping rules, would love for you, our audience, to share on the chat what about Sonam's talk really stood out to you, what resonated with you. So feel free to put that on the chat so that there's a space and opportunity for us to just learn from each other as well, besides our amazing speakers and facilitators. Before we move on, for those of you who've registered for Session Stage, you can stay on here on this YouTube live stream, right? Those who are registered for Reimagine Classrooms and Change Labs happening on Zoom, you should have received a Zoom link in your inbox. So please use that to head to your room. Again, like yesterday, we will be coming back on this link at 6 p.m. for our closing. And we hope to see you all there. If you need help locating your Zoom room or have any other questions regarding the program or the agenda or anywhere that you need to be, please reach out to Shivani and Zui on support@kidseducationrevolution.org. And now, Soumya and I will go off, and we would love to hand it over to Koina, who will be with you again through the session stage today. Over to you, Koina.
Thank you, Kritika Didi. Hello again. My name is Koina and I'm from Bhilai, Chhattisgarh. As I told you yesterday that I'm also a KER revolutionary and I've recently passed out from class 12. So for today, I'm going to be your MC, and as we explore the role that leadership can play in transforming our India and the whole world. With that, our first session for today will be a panel discussion on the topic of how can we safely reopen schools in this COVID impacted world. The moderator for this panel is Venil Didi, who is a Teach for India alumnus and currently works at Antarang Foundation. She is joined by two student panelists, Rehan and Zen, and two educators, Vivek Bhaiya and Dilia Didi. This version of the panel that you will see today is a pre-recorded and edited one. If you would like to see the entire panel, please check out the KER library, which will be in your inboxes tomorrow morning. Over to Didi. Venil Didi.
Welcome everyone to this panel. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to hearing from all four of you on this very, very important, highly relevant topic of just the role of leadership in safely opening schools and communities in a COVID impacted world. Before we actually get into the topic, though, I'd love to just quickly introduce all of us here today. So I'll start with myself. My name is Venal. I work at Antarang Foundation, which works to enable all youth to pursue careers of choice. And prior to this, I spent many, many years working at Teach for India as a fellow and staff. On our panel today, we have a very diverse and exciting panel. I'm going to start with our youngest member, which is Zen Sharma Saluja. He's a student of grade 6 at Bombay International School. And a really interesting project that he did with one of his friends, Rohan, was create this website called Educate, Enlighten, Empower, the purpose of which is to spread awareness about education in India, which he feels very, very passionately about. The next panelist we have is Rehan Sheikh. He is a grade 8 student from a school in Ahmedabad in a Teach for India classroom. Along with his friends and his teachers, he started something called Pencil Bricks to spread quality education in his community. And they used to run mini learning centers, around 10 of them in the community. So thank you for joining us, Rehan. Excited to have you and Zen bringing the most important perspective to this conversation from the student lens. We also have Vivek Kumar, who's the co-founder, CEO of an organization called Shamtalet that works to sort of just support communities to revive the spirit of learning. And a lot of elements of self-directed learning, mindfulness, system thinkings are very core to the curriculum that they deliver, as well as building regional leadership. So welcome, Vivek. And finally, we have Delia Kovo, who's a staff member at Teach for America in the San Antonio region. She's, apart from having taught and done the fellowship, coached different core members, has also led multiple very interesting projects to help young people and educators sort of co-create many different things. So very excited to have you here as well, so we can sort of co-create learnings today. So thank you all again for joining. Let's dive right in because I know we have limited time. Before we actually start talking about the role of leadership in reopening schools safely, I'd like us to just maybe start with sharing from all of our perspectives, what were the challenges that we saw as schools shut down at different points in our countries and where we're based. So maybe Zen, if you want to start us off with saying what were some of the challenges that you saw when schools shut down?
Being a student myself, I feel schools are so much more about than just learning. They're about the social interaction as well. And now, thanks to having schools shut down, the social interaction is not really possible. However, who am I to complain? I think to myself sometimes. There are millions of children around India who haven't even attended a day of school, online or physical, during this pandemic. While I complain about no social interaction, many don't even have basic academic interaction. So what's happened in the past has happened, but what's scary to imagine is the future. It's been 16 months and counting of this lockdown and no school for particular children, which is more than enough time for children of any age to forget everything they've learned. The physical side of it is a large aspect as well, I feel. For example, in rural areas, several children are stuck at home, and people such as farmers and laborers have got used to having their children at home to help with work. So who's to say that once schools reopen, they'll send their children back to school instead of keeping them at home to help with work and labor? So there are several points of view, and I feel the digital divide is now bigger than ever, separating those who can access technology and those who can't.
First of all, I'm so glad listening to Zen and Rehan. To be honest, right, there's not much to add to whatever they have shared. And, if we really have to look for solutions, I think, we need to just talk to them and listen to them a lot more than we have done in last 2.5 years. And not just for symbolic purpose, but really understand what they're feeling. I would mostly speak from, in the context where I come from is rural, right? Means no matter how much we talk about, what really pains my heart when is still the mainstream a narrative is around urban areas. I strongly feel it's digital divide. Let's not make Corona an enemy. Digital divide has been ever since. It's not something which started in 2020. So it's easy for us to kind of, create an enemy and fight them when it's not. It has been an economic and cultural divide. Secondly, what has really kind of baffled me is that, even if we have digital device, as Zen said, learning is much more than learning through a device, right? So that's something, and there is no conversation around content, right? Still, which kind of really baffles me, that 18 months or 15 months into pandemic, we are still engulfed in the medium debate, and not that what about the content, what about the assessment, what about the reimagining education post pandemic? If not now, then I don't think ever will get a second chance to kind of reimagine education. Now the question also that you asked is very important, that how was it when it started, especially in rural areas? And again, I feel that urban areas also have been equally impacted, but I just want that voice to be amplified, is that there was no information. In urban areas, still you have access to information over information. In rural areas, still if you go and talk to a child, they don't know what's happening. Imagine the kind of anxiety this uncertainty can cause. Again, I'm not doing this comparison, but just kind of amplify that huge amount of information poverty. Children don't know, right? Means what's happening. They don't have access to Google. They don't have access to this virus, how long this is gonna stay, why have schools shut down? There are so many questions that they have. And the last thing what they might be thinking is of online learning at this point in time, because they just don't know what happened to them. Right. So I think that information gap and poverty first needs to be filled, and they need to be communicated, because there will be a massive trust deficit when school opens up. And I think that's something also need to be taken. And then that's something that I personally feel, of all the point, that there was not enough engagement with children when this happened.
I think like if we spend time talking about the now, right? Because I think a lot of us have gone through the past year and a half, 16 months, like Zen said, and it's been challenging. I don't think anyone could have imagined it, right? Across sectors, not just education. But I think thinking about like the real fear that still exists, there is uncertainty that still exists across the board. So if we talk about like what is the role of different stakeholders to make school openings safe and happen soon?
I think there are so many roles of different stakeholders to be at place. And the thing that I think I am carrying with me as we open up schools again, and really want to focus on, is this understanding of open communication. If you are an educator or a school leader, that's some of the lens that I carry with me. It's really important to talk to your students, talk to your families, talk to the caregivers, and understand what's on their hearts and minds. If you do it absent that, the school's not going to feel like a safe place. It might not even be responsive to the needs of our students and our families, to pick up on some of the things that they have learned, haven't learned. So I think open communication is going to be the most important tool that we can leverage.
Thanks for that. Vivek, you had spoken about just information, which links a little bit to this communication point. What in your mind is the role different stakeholders can play?
Thank you so much, Venil. I would like to add one thing, which, I hope to use this platform to amplify, is that this whole idea of also this is a digital divide is also us not really focusing on the real problem. So there's so much of talk about that the entire COVID thing has led to a digital divide, and ed tech being the, solve all kind of a thing. So that needs to be also understood. So we hope that, as a community of educators, so we kind of also start exploring that what is the real problem. Coming to the stakeholder thing, I think, to be honest, again, coming from rural context, we need to talk to parents and not just give them tasks. So one thing that I have been observing a lot is that when it comes to parents' role, it's more of, now assigning tasks to them. Now that COVID has happened, and not really seeing them as a decision maker. And my question, Venil, is do we do that to parents across all socioeconomic conditions? It's always the parent who are at the bottom of the pyramid, who are struggling, who are at the lowest of Maslow's need. You kind of stack up their responsibility. Right. So I think one thing, if I have to kind of really say one thing, that it's just not about adding on to the responsibilities that parents have. One more, now you have to take care of education. I think we need to really involve them in decision making. And there are more than 6,000 blocks, and there are more than 600,000 villages in India. If we really have to overcome this sustainably, we have to go back to Gram Panchayats, involve the Sarpanch, involve the Pradhan, involve the local principal, involve the parents, talk to the children, and do this at a panchayat level. I think that has to be the lowest denominator if you have to really solve this.
Thank you for sharing that. It also, in one way, becomes more manageable because the unit is local. At the same time, obviously, especially like in India, the scale is huge. But thank you for sharing the role and the burden that it's added almost to a parent to take on one more thing. Rehan, what do you think?
I completely agree with Vivek sir that whatever he said, but also I think once we open the school, it's everyone's responsibility to make it flow well how it was flowing earlier. And like yeah, we Indians always say when roots are stronger, the tree will stand as stronger. So if we feel schools are right now is I think it's a tree and we all are root cause of it. We are roots. If we are strong, we'll be able to make the tree strong. First of all, I think the responsibility comes to the parents because parents are the first person who are really interacting with the child, who 24 hours right now are with the child. We need to make sure that the once schools are open, we need to take care of medical equipment, wearing mask and all, because when we come to medically, if we are medically strong, physically we are going to be rocking actually. This is the first thing. Second, I think teacher, as students are personally, as I feel I am a student, when I go to classes, when it was my first online class, it was really difficult for me to talk to my teachers. And as like if you right now opening school and sending child to the school will be same as you sending your small child to kindergarten. The atmosphere will be very new for the child. It will take some time for him to adjust, as he have earlier also been in the same class with the same teacher, but he have not been in touch. He have been in touch, but he was not comfortable. So different challenges are going to come, but in this the teacher had to take the responsibility. Once the teacher try his best, the student will be more open. So I think we need to also work on the kind of space we create in the class for our students to be more comfortable, I think. Third, I think local people. We need to also involve our local people in the school, opening the school, because in what I feel in our community or in our society, the people are not really given the importance. As school is just like principal, teachers, or students or parents, but it's everyone. Learning is just not you going to the school and learning a particular subjects. It's much more actually. So we need to include everyone to make it smoother, because what I personally feel is my school started in between when we had less cases, but what everyone was not following precautions to, and everyone was just roaming around, and especially our students. As a students, everyone is like, every child is like, "Arey, what will happen, yaar?" Took it out. So I think we need to follow on small thing. If we solve the small problem root cause, we will be able to solve the bigger problem, I think.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I loved how you said you spoke about the roots and the tree, and all of us need to hold the roots so that then we can bring it back together. Again, a lot of themes coming from what all of you are sharing. Then, your perspective.
I'd like to start by saying I really agree with what Rehan said about how hard it'll be for children to adjust to going back to a classroom situation. I mean, they'll be going back to a physical classroom after being stuck in their homes for about 16 months. And there'll be so many academic levels behind from what they're meant to be at that age. So I think everyone stated really great points. I'd like to just state some baby steps. In my opinion, the great thing about having a community as large as a school is that you have so many people to think about it and actually contribute their ideas. I agree with what Delia said, that coordination and communication is an extremely important part of it, to understand everyone's circumstance in terms of safety, because safety is the number one thing. Of course, we need schools to open, but we need safety to maintain. We don't want cases spiking, because if it was like it was in India, say a few months ago, 3 months ago, then schools will not open because the cases were really spiking and people were dying left, right, and center. So be it the parents, be it the teachers, be it the students, everyone must have a basic understanding of safety and social distancing in general. All those basic things. And then learning spaces will have to be redesigned in a way for everyone to be like far apart and safe. So those are the ideal situation would be for everyone, or at least adults, to be vaccinated, but we all know that in itself is a huge issue, and it'll take really long. So if not, of course, everyone must try their best to try and get vaccinated as fast as possible, both doses, adults in particular. But if not, we should try and follow these protocols and open schools as fast as possible.
Thank you for sharing that, Zen. I think just really, I think we've already started talking about both barriers and solutions. And I think what's come up is just the number of people that need to come together to make this happen, right? It's not just a government school system making a call or a school leader. It's every person has that role to play, because like I think Rehan and Zen were mentioning, that if people in the school, whether it's a student, teacher, are not following safety norms, again, we can go back very quickly also into the fear, the uncertainty, or even probably things spiking. So if we spend a little bit more time on this, I think everyone touched upon different aspects and already put forward certain solutions. But given that at this point, we brought up communication that has come up in the panel, it's not that, and I think like Vivek's been saying, right, it's not Corona, some of these things have been there before, right? It's the school system and parents and communities did not have the easiest flow of communication even before this, right? So now to move forward, the responsibility and fear even that teachers have to lead some of this, right? That they are worried about their safety. They are worried about now having the responsibility of not just learning, but also safety of students, which they're not necessarily like prepared for. So if we think about it also from the teacher lens, from the school lens, what are some of the other barriers sort of that stand out to you? And what could be some solutions beyond which we've already discussed? Zen, I don't know if you want to start us off on this.
Yeah, sure. So, though I said earlier in my previous point that having so many people in a community is a great advantage, now that I think of it, in a way, it's also a disadvantage, because you have so many people to care for and so many people to control. And even though I said that communication and coordination is important, it's kind of impossible to communicate and coordinate between such a large number of people with so many different stakeholders. As you said, there are teachers, parents, students, everyone. So it's really tough to coordinate between so many people. And like I also said, getting vaccinated would be the ideal situation. But I think a solution to this would be maybe everyone look out for themselves rather than having one group of leaders um, monitoring and like looking out for everyone else. Everyone needs to look out for themselves and others around them who their actions directly implicate on. So yeah, everyone will need to be responsible. And I also agree with you and Vivek about the fact that this is not only in COVID. I mean, in COVID, of course, it's much more extreme. I mean, I don't know a single time that it's been shut down for 16 months. But before, there also used to be flus in school, and there used to be a lack of communication. And I remember for some time, school would get shut down for a few days because of not particularly my school, but many schools around India. So yeah, I think everyone needs to be responsible. And back then it flied and it was an issue, but now more than ever, people really need to be responsible about this and look out for look out for themselves and each other, because one group of people cannot do something so big.
Thank you so much, Rehan and Zen, for sharing your views. I think we don't need to do a lot of hard work to understand just pre-COVID what was the learning around in India, right? Means I would not present with those old statistics that we do, right? X% of children can't even read or write, and we are way behind foundational learning. So I don't need to we don't need to do really hard work. So I think just kind of segregating and understanding this question, that what is going to motivate children and parents to come and engage with school. I think just figuring out that, right? Because as Zen said, it's been 16 months away from school. Suddenly expecting them to come to school and behave as normal. So that's one thing that we need to really figure out. Second thing is what Zen said was very important, that there's so many people. How do you really talk to them, right? Means it can also be logistically a nightmare. And that's why I think distributing the ability to solve a problem, especially when it comes to education, right? How do you distribute this ability? And we have seen that even in the past, when you really make your denominator small, you could do a lot more with less. I think that's something very, very, very important. And third and most important is seeing multiple strategies and not one thing as a solution. So EdTech is one strategy. It's not a solution in itself. Or let's say, offline learning is one strategy, or radio is one strategy, WhatsApp is one strategy. These are not solutions. Suddenly EdTech is not going to solve the problem of ed inequity. We need to understand the problem after COVID is also ed inequity. And that is something that we need to solve for, not something just specific to COVID. And last and most important thing, I think it would be a shame, as Zen said, the pandemic of such nature happens once in 100 or 200 years. And if we don't see this as an opportunity, and I'm not saying opportunity as opportunity, but as a platform or as a way or as a second chance, not everyone gets second chance to reimagine our education system. If we go back to same 8 periods, same way of assessing, assembly line learning, and not really reimagining that, now we are actually seeing there's so much of connect in home and school, and how what you've learned in school is not helping you at home, what you've learned at home is not helping you at school, not bringing a wisdom that child has into the school or the parents has into the school, and going back into same A to B kind of a model, then I don't think we'll get another chance for next 100 years. So really this is the time to step up and reimagine what learning could be, what blended learning models could be. How do you kind of not think of this 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 school model? School can also be in different ways. It could be interdisciplinary. Assessment could look very different. What we have done in last 6, 7, 8 months across India, and really taking out time to reflect what has happened around the world and bringing those best practices as well. And lastly, what Rehan was saying is, don't talk to communities, listen to them. I think that's very important. Don't tell, ask. And I think we'll have something to work around. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Vivek. I think that also reduces the pressure, right? Because I think when people think that they have to give a solution, it suddenly makes the stakes higher. If you flip it and saying, ask them, see if a solution emerges, it automatically reduces the pressure also for the school system, teachers, principals. Great point. And I think two big reimagining things are just standing out to me. One is, I think, like Vivek, you said, just reimagining education as a whole, and that's an opportunity. And I think, like Zen and Rehan spoke about, just distributed leadership as well, right? Like that true concept of citizenship that each one of us is adding value to building. It's also an opportunity to sort of reimagine that. So thank you for that. Delia?
I'm so inspired by all of the answers that have already been given, because I think you're addressing really hard truths. There are so many things that keep coming up for me. So I'm thinking about, like, if you ask young people and you ask caregivers what they want and need from school, they'll share it with you, right? And so when going back to this idea that Den and I were talking about open communication, the real power is in truly listening. And so I see the role of open communication, creating the conditions for partnership. However, schools weren't designed for true partnership, and so that is a barrier, right? But to Vivek's point, you can use this as an opportunity to reimagine and restart thinking about it. So you can create ways for true partnership to thrive. To keep thinking about other barriers that have come up for us, I'm seeing mental health and social interactions be something. So, personally, I've been indoors for 16 months and interacting with other people. I don't know how to interact in a really meaningful way. Things that once felt natural don't feel as natural anymore. They take different types of energies. And then on top of that, the mental health has been a really big struggle a lot of our students have elevated. And so how are we creating spaces in schools for them to address that in a meaningful way? And then on top of all of that, like all of you have said, one size of education does not fit all. And so getting creative using multiple modalities, thinking about what we've learned over the last 16 months and thinking about how we can incorporate it through the lens of partnership, I think is how we're going to be able to tackle some of those barriers that we're seeing.
As we are discussing that what could be different strategy to open the school, also I think one of the problem I forgot to define, or I forgot to say, was once we get the students in the school, I think lot of students right now have anxiety, fear to meet new people, have new classmates, or go to a new, like a lot of parents will be changing the school. If we talk about India, we have economically hit so strong. Even if I talk about my parents, they have lost their job in this pandemic. So a lot of parents are going to change school and all. So a lot of students will suffer from anxiety, have fear to learn or speak. So I think we should, this will be one of the biggest problem what I believe that student will be facing. Even I think I will be facing, I will be going to my class, I will be not able to speak to my one of the best friends, not much comfortably, just to speak them hi, hello. So I think we need to also focus that what kind of solutions are there, is there for. It's like we can call a mental health expert, or our first week of the school should be just dedicated to student, where we can spend time with student. We can build a better relationship between a teacher and the student, not in just academically focusing on, I think.
What a great point, Rehan. And I think Delia was also talking just about, I think everyone's touched upon the social element at some point, but she was just referencing to it as well. And I think, again, it's the opportunity to not view education equals academics, right? Somewhere still the fear, the learning is on what we can measure directly, the learning loss, learning gap. But just, like Rehan, you said, just time to connect. And Delia, you were talking about the mental health. How do you look at education in what its true sense was meant to be, and not in just the purely academic sense? I'd love to, I know we're sort of around time, I'd love to do like maybe closing remarks.
I love so much that has been shared. So in my opinion, people and humanity are our biggest asset and strength. And I'm inspired by the conversation we've shared in just a short 45 minutes from the varying perspectives that we've had. So I know not everybody or not one single person has all the answers, but together we bring different strengths, we bring different perspectives. And I'm excited about the power in the people and the opportunity to leverage one another, our unique strengths, to be able to take on some of the most challenging times that we've had. And so as we think about reopening schools, that is what I am most hopeful for, is leveraging the power in our young people, our students, our caregivers, our educators, our community members, because I think then we'll be able to bring together the power of each other, the strengths, and get creative, right? Reimagine schools, reimagine what's possible, honor the humanity within us, the mental and social, emotional needs that we each have. And so, I'm just inspired by each and every one of you, and extend so much gratitude for being invited into this space and for all of the powerful things that you've each shared. I know I'm going to carry a lot of them with me as I go on in this work.
Thank you, Delia. I think you summarized a lot of this beautifully. And I think for me, what's really standing out is also just the power of having this dialogue and conversation, right? I think there was such rich perspectives coming from all four of you based on where y'all are coming from, and piecing that together. One, you can see the commonalities as well that exist, as well as learn from the differences to make everything better as a whole. So just also as individuals, I think something I'm taking away is how do we have more of these conversations with diverse people where we're also listening and not just feeling the pressure to tell or have a solution. And probably the more of us who are talking about it, the more we'll feel confident to say, okay, we can do this together. Let's get there faster. Thank you so much. I think this was very, very rich and insightful. Thank you, Zen, Rehan, Vivek, and Delia. I think lot of insights that I'm taking away for sure.
Thank you so much for this very insightful time. I mean, I'm amused and amazed. Well, so I think in today's time, we must truly put the children first, and also think about how we can safely bring them back into a conductive learning environment. And like our panelists said, our collective actions will be our biggest strength. It's really important to like have that collective strength, and like once we try doing this, I know it will definitely like bring a very positive solution. So with this energy and excitement, we'll now move for a short 5-minute break. But before that, I would really love to ask you a question, and it would be really great if you could answer that. So the question that I want to ask is, what's your special leadership skill? Like, any leadership skill that you strongly possess and you feel that it can really benefit in future. So yeah, your special leadership skill. We look forward to hearing from you on the chat box. Until then, if you want to just stretch or do anything, just do that, and I'll share my response as well. So I think for me, my leadership skill is communication, because I'm really passionate about communicating things and raising up my voice, standing out for whatever I feel. Not whatever exactly, but standing for the things that I feel are correct for that particular situation. So yeah, communication is my special leadership skill. Looking forward to hearing from other people as well.
Giving free education to every child present in this world, irrespective of the background they come from, the gender they have, the race they have.
I really want to address the problem of climate change because it's so important to my generation.
1/4 of the population, so 50 million people, don't have access to the internet. In my country, preventing residents from reliably accessing government relief programs and online schooling.
As someone who has experienced homelessness myself, I know its devastating impact. And while it is an overwhelming issue, I have learned the importance of starting small in order to work towards creating a solution.
We live in a world where so many people only care about their own happiness that we forget to worry about the people around us. That is why I am happy that I am an empathetic person in my community, because the world needs as many of us as we can get.
Once we can accept our differences and diversities, we will be, as the human race, stronger and more prosperous than ever before. We should tap into the strength of one another and make the world a better place.
The power to change things comes from bringing ideas together and using them to create diverse and inclusive solutions.
RISE is an opportunity to connect with exceptional young people from around the world and bring your talents together to develop fresh ideas, new thinking, and new approaches to old problems.
We'll help provide you the support you need to bring your ideas to life, including scholarships, career services, and membership in a global community. Please apply. We need your gifts and your talents.
We're counting on you. The world is counting on you.
I am so proud to be part of this new blooming generation, and we are going to rise.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a time or a chance to stretch out and maybe grab a cup of coffee or tea or whatever you like. With this, we'll now move for our next session, which is a live masterclass of the New India and I curriculum. The India and I curriculum developed by Teach for India is grounded in the constitutional values of justice, equality, liberty, and fraternity. And it aims to build 21st century life skills and responsible citizenship in students. I invite Oindrila Didi, who is a Teach for India fellow, and her students from grade 10 of Government Girls Senior Secondary School. Before that, if you remember, I asked you a question during the break. What's your special leadership skill? And I could see some really amazing responses in the chat box. It's like vulnerability, empathy, and creativity, trust. Yes, trust is one of the most important things. And some person, Naz Khan, has written diversified. That's really beautiful. And again, she wrote perseverance. And like all of these responses are so much beautiful. I mean, this is just so beautiful to listen different words which carry different meaning, and that's what our special leadership skill is. So with this, we'll now move forward to our session, and this session will be held by Oindrila Didi and her students from grade 10. So over to you, Didi.
Thank you, Koena. I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Girls, can you see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes.
Amazing. So as you join on, I would really request you to switch on your videos if you can, and just tell me in the chat box, how are you feeling today? Thanks, Kanna, for switching your video. Palak, I can see you. Quickly on the chat box, how are you feeling? Enthusiastic, I love it. Waiting for others. How are you feeling in the chat box? Calm, fabulous, enthusiastic, okay. Curious, yes, of course. There's a lot of curiosity that's going to take place. Energetic and calm. Amazing. Moving forward, today's big question is, who is invisible in my community? This is the topic that we are going to discuss, right? And I would actually invite somebody to read out the objective for today. Anjali, would you want to read out the objective for today? Go ahead, Anjali, if you want to read out the objective for today.
Question. Who is... Yes, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go for it.
Big question. Who is visible in my community? We will be able to identify people groups in my community being ignored.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Anjali. I would really request you to write in the chat box, what does identify mean here, girls? What do we mean by identify? Anybody wants to go for it? You can also come off mute and when we say we'll be able to identify people or groups, what do we mean? Yes, Alvina? Yes, search. Yes, Nazmi. Nazmi has talked about search, find, searching. Yes. So we'll sort of look for it. We'll sort of find out, yes, the people, the groups that exist in our community. Now, I would actually request you to sort of also tell me the meaning of ignored. What do we mean by ignored here? Yes. Somebody wants to come off mute and share. Not noticed. Yes, Siddha, somebody who's not noticed. Anything else? Discriminated. Okay, we'll see that if the ones who are ignored are actually discriminated against or not. Okay, moving ahead. Why are we learning this objective today, right? So as we know that our community is made up of different groups, right? It's made up of different people. And they might be a lot in number, they might be less in number. But depending on this, there are a lot of decisions that take place. at a community level, at a family level, at an individual level. So we are trying to understand, we'll gain knowledge about these groups, which are known as minorities, who are less in number. And we'll also develop our skill to identify them in our communities, the communities that we belong from. And through this, we'll also try to be compassionate towards them, right? So this is what the objective talks about. If you're good to go, can I see a couple of thumbs up from everybody so that I can move ahead? I can see Kagna, I can see Disha, Palak, Sania, amazing. Moving forward, the agenda, if you remember, Didi gave you a pre-work yesterday. Yeah. So we will discuss that. We will get into a short activity. We will also deep dive into a little bit of learning exercise, and then we will reflect. Yeah. If it's clear to us.
Okay.
Thank you, Alvida. Can we move ahead?
Yes, Didi.
Amazing. So the first pre-work that Didi assigned was a video. Now, I would invite somebody who, let's say, had a good lunch today to come off mute and tell me, what did you feel after you watched the video? The others could also share the responses on the chat box. Somebody who wants to. Yes, go for it, Nazni. Go for it.
Okay, Dee. So, guys, when I watched this video, literally, I feel guilty about myself because when I saw this video, means I also discriminate someone, and from my stupidity perspective, because I trust people and I also listen people like don't touch them, and I also do this thing same. So that's why that make me feel very bad, and I have questioned to myself then, Nazmin, the treatment you don't like, then how you can judge anybody. So I think this make me feel very bad.
Okay. So you felt a little guilty. Okay. Simran, would you like to also answer? Would you like to add to that? Others, please also write in the chat box, right? Engage with the chat box.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Am I
Simran. Go
audible?
for it. Yes, you are. You are. Go for it.
When I see that video, I feel very angry because if we have to do discrimination, then why we make constitution? Why we wrote in the preamble the big word equality?
Okay, that's a very powerful thought, Simran, that you're leaving us with. If we have to discriminate, why do we have these words in the constitution which don't mean anything to us? Okay, we'll get back to that. I can see a lot of responses on the chat box where Ishika also feels angry, Kanna feels emotional. A lot of you are also feeling guilty because maybe we've done the same. Okay. Now I'm going to sort of ask you to engage with the second part of the pre-work. What was the second part of the pre-work? Can somebody tell me? What was it? What were we asked to do? Yes, Ikra, go for it.
We have to take interview.
You had to take a survey, right? From your community. You had to ask people. Now, based on those responses, what do you think when you interviewed them? Did they feel being a part of the community? Or why do you think they felt a certain way? Did they feel included? Did they feel discriminated against? Would love to hear some thoughts. Fiza, do you want to go for it? Do you want to answer?
Yes, Didi. Didi, I took interview of one of my neighbor. So she said that I don't involve, like, मैं इसमें ज़्यादा आती नहीं हूँ. I don't participate in social work much because I need to run my house. So she was neither inside of us and nor at discriminated one.
So she was not really interested, right? About to understand. Okay. Anybody else who has a different perspective? You all can also put down in the chat box. Yes, Palak, go for it. Can't hear you, Palak, if you're speaking. Yes, go for it. Yes, you are. Go for it.
Yes. So, Didi, when I take survey from my neighbor, they get very proud that they have very good neighbors. They help them and they actually listen them and they communicate also with them.
Okay. So you felt that these neighbors feel quite listened to, they don't feel discriminated against, and there's a community feeling. Okay. Anybody who has a different perspective, they spoke to somebody and that person maybe didn't feel quite, let's say, included? Anybody came across that kind of a perspective? Yes, you all can also put down your thoughts in the chat box. Would love for you all to engage. Yes, Simran, tell me. Go for it.
Didi, am I audible?
You are. Go for it.
Yes, Didi, when I asked with my neighbors, what do you feel? What do you feel you are minority? They are Muslims. So I said, in what problem you face? So they said they cannot get any house to stay because they are Muslim. People think they are Muslim, they are staying dirty, and they didn't clean their rooms.
Okay.
Their rooms are always messy.
So you talk to somebody who actually faced this kind of discrimination, right? So we have very different ideas if you look at it, girls. Some said they feel included, some say they don't, right? And maybe it all ties to the same question, right? Whether they belong to the majority or minority, right? And that's what we are going to deep dive today. Okay, Alvina gives like a good pertinent point. So one man came to, okay, so there's somebody who came to the community to pick the garbage, and people don't go near that person, right? There's a lot of hatred around it. Yes, that's also something that happens a lot. Okay, now moving forward, let's engage with an activity, right? Let's just try to understand this particular problem a bit more. Now, just a bit of like a notice that I know this activity might be a little uncomfortable for a lot of us, but the intention is not to offend anybody, right? The intention is to get a better understanding of the realities that exist in our community. So if you're ready for it, I want all of you courageous souls to sort of engage with this activity. So are we ready to do this? Can I see a thumbs up or like a done on the chat box? Amazing. Amazing. Great. So Didi is going to initiate an activity where we are going to make our own world, right? We'll be assigned with a couple of roles belonging from different activities, belonging to different communities. And there'll be a couple of scenarios, and we'd have to find solutions to that. Now, the only rule being, let's say if Kangna gets the role of a Hindu housewife female, she has to be the Hindu housewife female. Kangna cannot speak from the perspective of Kangna. Yeah? Are we clear with the rules? What the rules are?
Yes, Didi.
Okay. If y'all can see my screen, I have made a couple of I've given a couple of information, right? So there are 5 roles, and students whose names, let's say, start with these letters, they will speak from this perspective. Yeah? I'll give you 30 seconds to note down the roles that you're going to sort of play. And then I invite you to actually put on your role-playing thinking cap. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Simran, do you have a question? You raised your hand up.
Yes, Didi, your voice is breaking. Can you please repeat the rules?
Can somebody repeat the rules for Simran? Somebody who heard and somebody who's absolutely sure what needs to be done here. Yes, Alvina, go for it.
So the Simran start from S. So the last one student whose name start with P, S and U. So Simran is a Christian beggar female. So she needs to speak as a beggar female, and she is Christian. So she didn't speak like a Simran, what she thought. She needs to be taught like a beggar female.
Absolutely. Simran, is it clear to us what we have to do now?
Yes, Didi.
Amazing. So are we clear with our roles?
Yes, Didi.
Can I see a couple of thumbs up so that I can move forward? Amazing. Yes, I can see a couple of thumbs up, waiting for others. Chinky, Umra is giving me a thumbs up. Ikra, Pizza, Alvina, Medu, Geeta, Ishika, what about you? Amazing. So the first scenario, I would actually invite somebody to read it for us. Can somebody read it for us? Somebody who hasn't? Yes, go for it, Geeta. Go ahead. Read for us.
The Hindus want to block the road for Navratri celebrations, which creates a lot of noise. Other religions are saying no. There is no other state as an option.
Yeah. So Hindus want to sort of block the road because there's a Navratri celebration. And the other religions, they are saying no. Because there's only one street, एक ही option hai, and we don't want to do this, okay? Moving back to the same slide. Now I want you all to put on your thinking caps and your role-playing caps, right? So what do you think a Hindu housewife female would say here? So those students whose names start with A, B, C. Yes, Alvina, would you like to answer? Others, please also write in the chat box, girls. Yeah.
So I want the road to be blocked because then it will be difficult for us to go celebrate the Navratri.
Okay. So one of the Hindu housewife females, they feel that they need to block the road. Okay. What about a Muslim factory worker, male? Somebody who's a Muslim factory worker, male. What would that person feel? You all also can sort of write in the chat box. What would you all feel? What would you all want? Anybody? Lalita, Mehzbeen, Nazmeen. Yes, go for it, Nazmeen. Go for it.
So they like I am Muslim, so in my religion my namaz is very important for me. So I would tell that please make a space for me because I have to go and this is very important for me, I would say.
Okay, that's okay. Yes. What do you think a Christian beggar female would say? Anybody? Let's see. Umra, would you like to try?
Yes, Didi. So, Didi, I think that I say that like you are like the Hindu can make the Navratri in the morning and then they just like empty the road for the others to use it.
Okay, that's a good sort of option, right? And what would like a Hindu politician male or a Hindu student female suggest? What would they suggest? Fiza, would you want to go for it? And then we can hear from Geeta as well.
Yes, Didi.
Go for
So,
it.
Didi, if I would be like, I am a Hindu politician man. So, first of all, I am a politician. So, I need to listen to everyone because I need votes.
Okay.
So, I would if just because of Hindu, I will lose all my votes of Christians and Marathi and other religions. I will be a little selfish here and I would not let them do it. And there is one more reason that there is only one option on the road. So I would being a responsible citizen, I would not let them do it, but I will not disturb their feelings. I will give them a park area to do it, to their festival.
Okay. Now I would actually encourage you to think. There are 5 people here, right? 3 from a particular religion, 2 from different religion. Once you've discussed, who do you think will come out victorious? Decision kiske? Where do you think the decision will lie? Or whose side will the decision be? Whose side? Will the decision be in favor of the Hindus, the Muslims, or the Christians here? Okay. Who do you think the decisions will be based on? Kiske side pe? Hindus? Why do you think, Palak, the decision will be in favor of the Hindus? Okay, Nazmin thinks all. Okay. We'll get to that. Why do you think? Okay, Sani also thinks Hindu. Why do you think, Palak? Can't hear you. Yeah.
Am I audible?
You are. Go for it.
Because they are in good numbers. If they will take a vote also, so they only win.
So if we have to take a vote because Hindus are more in number, like Alvira said, they are majority. The majority Fiza also says. So we all agree, right, that the final decision, no matter what the others say, will rest with the Hindus because that's what the majority is all about. Yeah. Now let's pause here. Keep this idea in our thought, like in our mind, and let's move over to the next situation. Are we good to go? Okay, Shika. Majority always wins. Okay. Let's see if actually majority always wins or not. Okay. Let's move over to the next one. Okay. Again, so this, I will put this out for like 30 seconds. I want you to take down note of your roles, the roles that you're going to be playing for the next activity. And once you're done, either you write down on the chat box or give me a thumbs up. Is it clear to all of us?
Yes, Didi.
Amazing. So I would want you all to take a note of your roles. Okay, Kangna is giving me a thumbs up. Simran is giving me a thumbs up. Mehazbeen is giving me a thumbs up. Alvina saying done. Sania giving me a thumbs up. Waiting for some more responses. Nazmi, Ikra, Ishika. Amazing. Great. So let's look at the second scenario. Umra is also giving me a thumbs up. Great. Somebody who wants to read and hasn't read. Let's see. Let's hear from Ishika. Go for it, Ishika.
Everyone wants the beggar, homeless people out of their community. They don't want to leave. They make the roads dirty. There is no other place in your community for them.
Yeah. So there are beggars in your community, homeless and beggars in your community, and people want them out of the community, right? You want them out of the community because you feel that there is no place for them in your community. They make the roads dirty. So we'll move back to your roles. So what do you think? What do you think the decision will be here? What would like a Muslim politician male say? What will that person like? What do you think will their decision be with this? Will they want to drive them outside? Will they want them to stay? Okay. Yes, Ishika, go for it. Go for it, Ishika. Okay. Yes, Simran, go for it.
Didi, am I audible?
You are. Go for it.
Didi, I want the beggar get out from my community because they always stand in front of my shop or they always want some money, something to eat. Or I cannot able to afford that. Why I will give them?
Okay. Now, somebody who's actually a Muslim beggar intersex, somebody whose name starts with GHIK, either of it. What do you think that person would want? A Muslim beggar intersex. What would that person's decision be? Somebody from GHIK. You can also write in the chat box. What would their decision be? Somebody else also can take a chance at that. Mehazbeen, do you want to go for it? Let's see. Kangna has raised her. Is Kangna raising her hand? Okay, Kiran has said Stephen. Okay, I think beggars don't have to leave because, okay. Yes, Ishika, you're right. Everybody is equal. So Ishika is speaking from that perspective that nice. Everybody needs to be there. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you the same question again. What do you think, based on the scenario, who will win here? What will be the final decision? Will it be in favor of the beggar or will it be in favor of the rest of the people? Yes, Kangna, right. You're right. The person needs equality and a happy life. But here, where will the decision be? Will it be towards the beggar, rest of the people? Okay, rest of the people. Why do you think rest of the people not? Yes, Ishika, not in favor of the beggar. Why do you all feel rest of the people? Favor. Why will it be in favor of the rest of the people? Yes, Mehazbeen, go for it. Yes, because people are in the majority, definitely. Tiza, Mehazbeen, do you have anything to share? Do we all agree that the decision will be in favor of the majority? Because yeah, in this, we just have one person who is actually the Muslim beggar intersex, right? Apart from that, others are from different communities, right? And they don't really care. So we've established this, right? For both of the cases, we've come to a solution. Yes or no?
Yes, Didi.
Okay. Yes, Ishika, beggar is the minority. Now let's sort of deep dive into a couple of thinking questions. What is the difference in the decisions? When you made this decision, what were the differences that came in the first case and in the second case? Absolutely, Alalita. Absolutely. What was the difference? Yes, Fiza. Go for it.
Didi, in first case, there was about the Navratri celebration, which was with Hindu, and the majority was Hindu. They were wrong. Like, I'm not judging anyone. Like, I think that they were wrong. But the beggar who is not wrong, but they need to leave the area because they were alone and the minority.
Okay. So why do you think this happened? Do you think all voices were heard here? In both the scenarios, there were different people from different communities. Do you think voices were heard? All voices were taken into account. Hindus, there was like a Christian person. Do you think all of these voices, also the beggar's perspective, would you all feel? No? Do we all agree? It was not. Not everybody was heard.
Yes.
So what is similar then in both the scenarios? Something that you already mentioned. What is similar in all of these situations? Yes, Umra, go for it. What is similar in all of these situations? Lack of equality, love it, Fiza.
Didi,
Yes.
I think that the similar is that in the first case there was the problem of Navratri and there is a religion of Hinduism, but everyone was taking their religion side. That if first we asked Hindu wife, so she said that yes, I want to celebrate Navratri on that road and that road will be blocked. So I think that everyone was taking their religion side. They are not thinking about others, that what will be the problem faced by others.
Definitely, Umra, yes. And something that you said also echoes, on the chat box, that everything is sided to the majority, right? Yes, some beautiful responses that I can see. First, we find majority, absolutely. So it's basically majority who are taking, let's say, the main decision. Absolutely. Now, I want you to, before we move ahead, I want you to notice there was somebody from the intersex community in the last case. Did we hear that person at all? Did we hear that person at all? No. Because maybe that person was only 1 or 2 in number, right? So there are certain communities to whom we don't even listen to at all, right? And that's what we are also going to learn a bit more about it. Okay? So now I'm going to ask you all to put on your role-playing caps and sort of move ahead with it. Are we good to go? Yes, absolutely, Shika, because they think we are not part of the community. So I'm moving forward. Is it okay with all of us?
Yes, Dee.
Yes, thank you. Amazing. Okay. Now, quickly, majority, we know who a majority is, right? We also know who the minorities are because we've established it. I want you to think, if decisions are in favor of minority, why do you think fights might occur or, problems might happen? Have you seen these situations around apne community mein? Have you noticed? Somebody wants to answer to that?
Yes, Didi.
Go ahead. You also can write in the chat box. Go for it, Alvina. If you're raising a hand up, go for it.
Yes, Didi, I have seen these cases. So if the minorities, take the decisions and the favor came into their hand, then the majority will fight because they are more in numbers and they can use the political power as well because they can vote them, and they are large in number, so they can do anything.
I love this thought. Yes, it's a very interesting point that Alvina has mentioned, right? They're larger in numbers, they have the power, they can do everything. But something I would like you all to remember, something I think Simran talked about. We have equality, we have these words in our constitution, right? Which talks about giving equal treatment to everybody. Then something to think about as young adults, why do these exist then if we don't want to act upon it, right? And we won't delve much into it. I want you to think about it, right? And we'll take it up in our next class. Okay, moving forward, do you think, coming back to your pre-work, the pre-work that you had, do you think the minorities in your communities are also the ones who are ignored? Now here I would want you to pause and think. You might have different answers, right? We might belong from the majority, we might belong from the minority. Based on that, our answers might change. So I want you to think for 5 seconds and then answer. Do you think the minorities in your communities are the ones who are ignored? It depends on maybe which side we are at. Yeah? Would love for you all to sort of engage with this. Maybe on the chat box with a yes or a no. We won't engage much with this now, but like with just a yes or a no on the chat box. Okay, Alvina says yes. Interesting. Umra also says yes. What about others? Geeta also thinks, she says, I think yes. Okay. Amazing. A couple of yeses. Now, there are certain minorities in our communities, like let's say prostitutes, beggars, people belonging from the intersex, who are not even given the basic rights, and they get a lot of biases, right? A lot of biases. And why is it harmful? Why do you think these kind of behavior is harmful? If biases get created in our minds, why do you think it is harmful for our community? Why would a bias be harmful for our community? If one person, yes, go for it, Simran. Go for it.
Because if always the majority wins, the minority also start protesting.
Okay.
They are also fighting.
Okay, you're talking about there might be unrest in the society. What else? Yes, go for it, Fiza. Go for it. What do you think? Why are biases that bad? How will it impact the community? How will it impact the society? Go for it. If you want to go for it, Fiza, you can go ahead. Okay. Yes, Umra. Go ahead. Tell me. Hi, Umra. You want to answer? Okay. Yes, Nazmi, go for it.
Yes, Dee. So guys, like in majority, people think we have more power and minority can't do anything. Why? I think that because they want conservatism. They don't want liberalism. They think we only have the chance and we want that chance. And that's why minority can't do anything. I think if we make a group or we make a like teamwork, we can win. But if we see majority, that's why we can't able to win or can't able to take action.
Love it, Nazmin. I loved how you sort of tied the chapter that we're doing now, nationalism, to this, and you talked about conservatism and liberalism. I loved it. Absolutely. So there are these biases that get imprinted in our minds, right? And it guides our future actions, right? If we feel a certain way, we will probably then sort of, whatever we do in the next couple of years, it will be guided by our thoughts, right? So which is why the biases that we frame is not like a good thing to start with. To understand a bit more, we'll quickly go over this because we don't have a lot of time. I want you to engage with this news report that came out in Hindu, and I want you to tell me whether this particular issue looks similar across, let's say, the minority community. So basically what happened here, people from the Northeast are getting they're getting harassed, they're getting abused because they look a particular kind, they speak a particular language, they eat a particular kind of dish, right? And people are associating them with coronavirus during pandemic. Now, do you think this is something that happens across community? Have you noticed something like this? Have you seen something like this? Yes, Nazmeen says yes. What about others? Have we noticed something like that? Yes?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, Didi.
What do you think are we doing as a society to make the minorities feel ignored? What do you think are some of the actions, some things that we speak, some things that we do? Can somebody help me? I'll take 2 responses off mute. Somebody and others can sort of, write in the chat box. What are we doing? What are we speaking? What are we saying? What are we doing? Go for it, Nazmeen. And then we'll hear from Umra and then we'll move.
Okay. So guys, I think we are making division. We are making we are listening to people perspective. Earlier, Didi told that we have to find the resources. We have to take the proof. But we are not taking this thing. We are listening to another people. And I think that make very bad thing for us. We are dividing like religion. I also face one problem. My father was going and there was Nizamuddin case in COVID-19. So everyone's saying that to my father, Afsar, please check, you don't get COVID-19 now. So I have question to everyone. I don't want to disrespect. Means if one Muslim do wrong thing, mean every Muslim. I listen one thing from my mother that people do mistake and we have to forgive them. But people don't think we are people. They are making divide that people are from religion, caste, sect, and that make divide. We are dividing. We are taking from other people. And that's why now we have to take action and we have to take the proof. And that I want that we can live together.
Love it, Nazmeen, how you're talking about how we cannot blame somebody's action and we can blame the entire community. Absolutely. A lot of you have also mentioned we are disrespecting, we are abusing, right? And this is what I want you to leave the space with. I want you to think about what some of the actions we are doing, intentionally, unintentionally, whether we are being compassionate, whether we are doing it out of spite, whether we are jokingly saying things which might be hurtful to others. Because like Simran mentioned, we have a constitution, right? And it talks about giving equality to all of us, right? And I want you to think about it. I don't want answers right now, but I want you to think about it. And we're almost at the end of this space. So what I want you to do is quickly engage in the chat box. What did you learn about your community today? And I want you to specifically talk about your community. What did you learn about your community today? If somebody wants to go ahead and answer. Yes, Umra, go for it. I'll take 3 responses each. One. Yes, one responses each. Go for it, Umra. What did you learn about your community? Yes. Go for it, Umra.
Yeah, so Didi, I learned that the community that we form, like my community, so there are having different type of people belonging to different religions, but there are some of the people who discriminate now also, but the people who are being discriminated, they are not even they have the right to do, but they didn't do. They said that don't even they used to do. But I think that if we are feeling discriminated by our religion or by our anything, so we have the right to go to that people and talk about it. That what's the one thing that is you are making us not equal to anyone.
Definitely, Umra, definitely. So this is something that we're learning about a community. And I see wonderful responses on the chat as well. And most of us agree that we've seen discrimination being like the highlight, right? What are you learning about your actions towards others, towards other communities? What kind of actions we need to be? I know some of you mentioned we need to be thoughtful, we need to be compassionate, we need to understand that we are part of the same world. So do we resonate with that? Yeah, Geeta says yes. What about others? Yes. Now the last question is, what are you learning about yourself? What are you learning about yourself? As Umra, as Mehzbeen, as Alvina, what are you understanding about yourself? Who are you as a person? What would you want to practice in the next couple of years? We need to understand that we are the same people. Absolutely. Alvina, would you give us the last response? Go for it. What are you learning about yourself?
Yes, Didi. So we need not to be biased because all people are equal for us. So we need to be treat them equally, and we should not we should not harm their hearts because they all are equal for us, and we need to be treated equally. And
Thanks
they
a
are
lot.
all part.
Yes, they are all part of the same community. We need to sort of treat them equally. Now, with this, I want you to sort of think about the big question again. Who are the people invisible in my community? And I want to think, what are our actions that we've taken and how do we want to change them, right? With this, we sort of end today's session. It was lovely doing it with y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed as well. And yeah, put down your comments on the chat box, how you liked it. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Koena, if you want to take it from. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Oindula Didi and my friends from Delhi. I mean, I am just so much full of learning right now. And I have learned a lot of things today, from this session. I learned so many things. I feel so good after hearing all the discussion that you people were doing and the prompts that were there, the idea, the thought. I mean, it was just so amazing. I mean, and the last point, which I always think of and I always question other people as well, is very similar to what you all said. When a person commits a mistake or does anything wrong, maybe a crime at times, so it's not the whole community or the particular religion or anything. It's that just that one person we should take care of. We shouldn't just instead of blaming a whole community or maybe the entire religion, we should just specifically talk things out with that particular person. So it was just amazing. I learned a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And with this note, after having such a brainstorming session, and we'll now move to a break. The break will last till 5:50 p.m. Until then, you people, our audience, you all can just get free, do something, just stretch or maybe anything. By then, I'll ask you all a question, and that question is, what is that one value which you would like to add to the citizens of your school, community, or country? There must be one value that you would be really wanting your community people, your school people, or the whole nation, maybe the whole world to have or to possess or to maybe practice. So if you could answer that in the chat box, it would be really great, So with this, you all can leave for the break. And yeah, that is it. Okay, everyone, welcome back. And before leaving for the break, I asked you all a question. What is that one value that you would like to add to the citizens of your school, community, or country? From my end, it would be, I guess for my community, I would like to add growth mindset as a value. And for the whole world, actually, and like every individual, it would be gratitude, because we should be thankful to a lot of things. And yeah, so we should just thank people, thank our environment, or anything. And with this, I would also like to read few responses which were really amazing. Someone said, treat others like the way you want to be treated. This is very true. Like the way we expect to ourselves to be treated from different people, we should treat themselves equally. Also, mutual respect, compassion, individuality, equal respect, everyone, wonderful equality. Oh my God, that was just amazing. Thank you so much. And yes, if you feel slightly low on energy, don't worry. We are having a super inspiring student talk coming up for you all. And with this, let's hear from my fellow revolutionary Utkarsh, who will be talking about his project Neer Urja and how he helped other people, or how he helped to provide electricity to his entire village people in Uttarakhand. Over to Utkarsh.
Imagine you have a very important presentation tomorrow and the light goes out. Have you ever experienced this despair? Now multiply this feeling into days, into weeks, into years, into a never-ending weight, carrying the burden of a straining hope. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Utkarsh Mittal, founder and developer of Neer Urja. At an early age, I was guided towards fostering a sense of respect and responsibility towards our environment. Enriched by my family's value system and my learning at school, it grew into an appreciation and aspiration for sustainable development. My father works in the hydropower sector, and since my childhood, I have been around hydropower houses, dams, and big hydropower machines. Traveling to Chinyalisore, Uttarakhand in March 2020, I got the opportunity to visit an inaccessible village, Niri, where few of our workers resided. Upon talking to them, I was surprised to know that electricity was not readily available to them, despite being in such close proximity to powerhouses and even working there. What was more shocking was that they were already connected to a power grid. Curious and intrigued to find out why, I spent the next few weeks interviewing our people from different villages about the electricity situation in their village. The facts I uncovered were most of them faced the problem of irregular electricity supply or did not have an electricity line in their village, either because of low population or inaccessibility. Houses located slightly away from the population center missed out on a grid connection on the sub-village level. The lack of infrastructure included a lack of street lighting, making villagers vulnerable to accidents or attacks by wild animals at night. The few with power supply received power for very short duration per day. Thus, more connections to the grid are unlikely to translate to a household electricity supply. So I wondered, how could I improve the residents' quality of life in these excluded villages? In my many travels through the hills, I often notice these streams of water flowing freely down the mountain along the road, with pipes jutting out of mountain landscapes, with water flowing through them, tapping a water source from within the mountain. Picturing this flow of water in my mind, it reminded me of its symbolism as kinetic energy. This kinetic energy's fundamental science translates to hydroelectricity, a concept I was too familiar with. So that gave me the bright idea to combine the requirement and demand and come up with an innovative solution to harness the potential of this flowing water to illuminate lives. And the only question remaining was how. While researching, I found a microturbine majorly used for DIY science projects, but I saw a wider purpose of the turbine. So I got my gears rolling, experimenting with and sourcing different components, finalizing vendors with tremendous financial and moral support from my family. And a month later, ladies and gentlemen, we had our very first prototype of Neer Urja. We call it Neer Urja because our project reflects the power of water. The end product was a very simple device consisting of a 12-volt lead-acid battery, a 34 LED light strip, a charge controller, and that very micro turbine, which I had luckily chanced upon. The turbine recharges the battery 24/7, which once charged can be plugged out and be used at home to light a bulb, a table fan, or any other 12-volt device. We are currently in the testing phase of deployment, under which we have already distributed 45 battery charging devices and 27 hydro streetlights across 9 villages: Soni, Satura, Pavani, Gangar, Osla, Sirga, Bansuli, Gavalgaon, and Niri. Neer Urja provided a source of electricity in 5 houses in each of these 9 villages. With the average family size of each household being 4 to 6 people, it is estimated that Neer Urja impacted and electrified the lives of at least 225 people. I installed 3 to 4 hydro street lights and illuminated the main access roads of these 9 villages with an approximate population of 100 to 150 people, hence benefiting the overall population of the village. All of this was made possible from the 1,50,000 gathered in funding. The development and deployment of Neer Urja was full of roadblocks. The most challenging being to create enough water flow to achieve the minimum voltage generation to charge the battery. All right, time for a little science lesson. As the flow of water seepage from the mountain changes throughout the year, especially in the dry season, it was essential to maintain the minimum velocity for year-round functioning of our device. So that can be done in 2 ways. The first is either to increase the height of the water and hence increase the potential energy. Greater potential energy would mean a greater kinetic energy as the water is now dropped from a height, which would translate to an increase in velocity. But to raise the water to a height would require some electricity, which we didn't have. So to increase the velocity at the same level, we channel the incoming water through a series of pipes with progressively increasing diameters with a fine mesh at the opening to filter the debris, which could block the turbine. An addition which was made after losing 2 of our turbines within a week. So what that did is that as the area of the cross section of the pipe decreased, the velocity increased in accordance to the physics law of equation of continuity for fluids, and hence effectively addressing the problem at hand. We continue to make alterations in the device based on the feedback received from our different beneficiaries throughout Uttarakhand. This trial deployment has not only helped us determine our device's long-term reliability, durability, scope of the project, public acceptance, and efficacy in addressing the problem, but has also helped us establish a line of contact in these different villages to ease future distribution. We plan to enter full deployment phase in the next 2 months after securing the much needed funding and stockpiling an inventory of 100 modules each of both types. Impressed and moved by Neer Urja's capability to illuminate streets at incomparably low costs, the authorities at Maneri Bhali Dam in Chinyalisore district of Uttarakhand and I are in talks to secure 5 lakh rupees in CSR funds to set up Neer Urja streetlights in and around Niri village. What started off as a simple thought of just wanting to help alleviate the villagers' fundamental concerns set off a chain of events that were a personal learning for me. Talking to the villagers made me realize that what is a fundamentally essential necessity for me is still a luxury for many. It has made me appreciate my privileges more now. Also, finding a sustainable and cost-effective solution to the problem brought me in contact with many experienced and specialized people from the hydropower industry who enriched me with their knowledge. This project also helped me consider and evaluate the various aspects of creating a product, from design, sourcing, manufacturing, to economics and deployment. Starting in my childhood days, influenced by my parents' engineering background, my learning today is directed towards engineering. And with this project, I found a way to tangibly apply it to benefit my community. The fondest memories of my involvement with Mir Urja are the trips to these villages. Leaving Delhi 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, traveling 8 to 10 hours to the installation sites, traveling through some of the most scenic routes with pristine flora all around, with that fresh air rushing through the open window of the car, with no need of that car's air conditioner upon starting the ascent on the hills, working the next day, installing the modules near houses, and traveling back through the night, reaching home by 2 or 3 a.m., and waking up the next day with a smile to resume my routine. Most importantly, this journey taught me that all it needs is a small, humble intent that can lead to a greater impact when combined with perseverance and dedication. Born out of a small conversation with a worker, what started as a simple thought to help bore fruit in the form of Mir Urja. I never felt more elation and satisfaction than when the first prototype lit the test light bulb. The calls I get from the people who have witnessed my device in action spur me to try even harder to produce more modules and reach out to many households as possible. I now hope that through crowdfunding and CSR grants, I can make a difference in the lives of more villages and families. To my fellow students, I would just like to say that we are the present and the future of the society, and it is our actions that will shape the future world. Now more than ever before, it is our solemn duty to co-inhabit Earth alongside nature and come up with sustainable solutions to our fellow inhabitants' problems. One should not feel reluctant to help others, even if it may be just one person. An endeavor to help a few can sometimes touch the lives of many. Even without the materialistic resources, we can become the solution to someone's problem by using what we all have, our intellectual strength. Let's all strive to make this a better world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Utkarsh. Thank you so much, Utkarsh. It was incredible to see you embody so much of creativity and critical thinking as you work to support the whole village. I mean, I'm really inspired by you, and I hope and I pray and I wish to see you doing good deeds to all the people every time. Thank you so much. So with this, now my part for the day is about to get end, and thank you for being a part of the session stage. But before that, I would like to hand it over to Kritika Didi and Soumya for closing out the day. Over to you, Kritika Didi and Soumya.
Thank you so much, Koina. Welcome back, everyone, to our closing for day 3. Hope you had an incredible day at KER week today. Soumya, before we move on to synthesize how the day went, I would love for you to share what was your favorite part of the day.
Thank you, Kritika Didi, for asking. I think I really loved the masterclass by Oenvila Didi. I just loved how she gently guided the students to, the reflection and the conclusion she wanted to. And she was not shy from mentioning social issues also. Especially the partnership really shined for me. It felt like a truly equal class where she encouraged them to also come up with ideas and reflections, and they were treated like equals in the discussion. And one comment I noticed which really stood out for me was by Dhanashree Virajdar. she said never hate in plural. And it just made me realize that all the viewers are really very much immersed in the masterclass. And, even the point of the entire session was relayed very efficiently. And I think it was truly a masterclass.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Soumya, for sharing that. It's beautiful. I mean, I wish I could attend, but I finally got a chance today to go into our reimagined classrooms. And I think my favorite part of today was Classroom 2 with Alex Beard and our very own revolutionary Vibish. I think I loved how they explored some key practices and principles that have shaped transformative schools all across the world. I think some of the principles like building relationships between students and educators and also with other stakeholders like parents is something that really, really stood out to me. Audience, we would love to hear from you. What was your favorite part of the day? What stood out for you today? What is something that you enjoyed a lot? So keep sharing and engaging on the chat. And before we move on to practice Mr. Consciousness with Soumya, I, on behalf of the KER team, would again like to thank all our facilitators for today. Teams from Umeed Foundation, Key Education Foundation, Reap Benefit, Museum of Solutions, Involve Learning Solutions Foundation, and Alex Beard and Vibish Kashyap. We would also like to express gratitude to our supporter, RISE. RISE is building a global community of extraordinary 15 to 17-year-olds who need opportunity and offering support for life as they use their talent to serve others. Offering support like scholarships, mentorship, and more. So if you want to be part of the RISE movement, click on the link that will be shared on the chat with you. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Soumya, who will help you reflect on the experiences that you've had over the course of today.
Thank you so much, Devi. And once again, I extend my gratitude to everyone who made today so successful and possible. And as Kritika Didi said, it's time for us to experience Mr. Consciousness. So today we'll do it in a little different format. I will tell you the 3 questions for reflection. Take your time, contemplate, and do share with us in the comment section. The first reflection for today, it would be, what new ideas, sparks, or learnings are you leaving with today? It could be something someone said, something new you learned, a bias you unlearned, or even something you already knew but just needed to be emphasized for you again. The second question for reflection would be, what is your role in solving problems we face in education on a community or school level? And the third question is the 2 C's you wish for your community or your school to embody. So just take your time, reflect on these questions, and do share with us in the chat box. So let's just take a couple of minutes for reflection. really beautiful and really deep reflections in the chat box. I'll just quickly say some. Mehak Ansari says that she's learning equality. Ruma Guhan Yogi is saying that student-centered is good, but family-centered is excellent. I do agree. Education system also goes beyond our classroom. It also includes our society. Rifa says that we can change the world. Yes, Rifa, we do agree with you. And we can know about minorities and their struggles, curiosity, community partnerships, holistic education. We can change the world, indeed. After all the beautiful reflections, Kritika Didi, do you want to go ahead?
Thanks, Soumya. Thank you again, everyone, for sharing your responses on the chat. And thank you for truly inspiring us, right? By sharing your perspectives, your views, and by engaging so beautifully today, yesterday, and the day before. I would love for you to take out 10 minutes today to fill and submit your feedback form for today, for day 3. You can find the link to the form on the chat. This will just help us improve and get better and stronger every year. So do take out some time today to fill out the feedback form. We will also, like today, I don't know how many of you actually got a chance to look at your inbox, but we shared a little surprise with you. Like I said, we shared our KER library for those who missed some experiences from yesterday and day before. We will be doing the same from the sessions today and more as part of our KER library, with links to the sessions that you have signed up for our last day tomorrow morning. So do check out your inbox to go over the amazing resources that our team and facilitators have put together. Thinking about day 4, Soumya, I can't believe that we are almost at the end of KER Week 2021. It just feels like a really long time that we've spent putting it together. And I'm really excited to meet our speakers and facilitators for tomorrow. We'll start our day with UNICEF youth leader Rafael Dennis and deepen our own understanding of self and the role we can play in this movement of reimagining education with organizations like Riverside, Harappa Education, Metis, and more. And now, before we close out, my favorite part of the day is almost here. We're going to head to our community building spaces to connect with each other and more change makers around the world. You can stay here on the live stream if you wish to attend KER Chronicles. We have about 14 exciting performances from diverse regions. If you've signed up for Chat for Change by Project Sitara, then go to the Zoom link in your inbox and head to the Zoom room. And lastly, thank you again for joining us today. Soumya and I will meet you tomorrow for our last day together at the same time and the same place. Thank you, everyone.
Dreams, hope and magic. The education system. The education system promises to be the greatest show on earth. You see if it is.
And why aren't we doing something to stop all this?
You know, no matter what people say, no matter what you belong to in society, it's like how much money you earn, I think just being yourself and finding that one unique thing in yourself is a creation shine for me.
क्यों नहीं कहते कि मुझे शिवानी नहीं उसका भाई पसंद है पर नहीं पढ़ पाई स्त्री नहीं या तुम नहीं इतनी देर क्यों करते अब सवालों से दम घुटता है, लगता है जैसे जवाब मिले तो समाज की घड़ी रुक जाएगी, घरों के शीशे फूटने लगेंगे, लोग गालियां देंगे, डर के मारे मौत आ जाएगी।
I think there are huge problems in our community, but then I got to know about a policy called Right to Education, Section 12C, RTA Section 12C, and that's when I realized there are a lot of policy that is made, but people aren't aware of it. So why don't I take it as a project? So I just went and made people aware of the project.
So basically the project which I am doing currently is Project IQ, which is named as Inner Quest.
Project I've done is called Sachetna.
So my project is named Bow, and I run a small initiative called Paramats.
Methodology and a startup.
One line which defines me is being alive after death. That's what is really connected to me because I really want to be alive after death.
I am working to reimagine how we think about leadership.
I truly believe that education is the only hope we have, and we are revolutionizing the only hope.
I've never felt as much equal partnership before.
Giving free education to every child present in this world, irrespective of the background they come from, the gender they have, the race they have.
I really want to address the problem of climate change because it's so important to my generation.
1/4 of the population, so 15 million people, don't have access to the internet in my country, preventing residents from reliably accessing government relief programs and online schooling.
As someone who has experienced homelessness myself, I know its devastating impact. And while it is an overwhelming issue, I have learned the importance of starting small in order to work towards creating a solution.
We live in a world where so many people only care about their own happiness that we forget to worry about the people around us. That is why I am happy that I am an empathetic person in my community, because the world needs as many of us as we can get.
Once we can accept our differences and diversities, we will be, as the human race, stronger and more prosperous than ever before. We should tap into the strength of one another and make the world a better place.
The power to change things comes from bringing ideas together and using them to create diverse and inclusive solutions.
RISE is an opportunity to connect with exceptional young people from around the world and bring your talents together to develop fresh ideas, new thinking, and new approaches to old problems.
We'll help provide you the support you need to bring your ideas to life, including scholarships, career services, and membership in a global community. Please apply. We need your gifts and your talents.
We're counting on you. The world is counting on you.
I am so proud to be part of this new blooming generation, and we are going to rise.
We all know that a lot of stuff that is going on in school is really not useful for life, right? Whereas a lot of stuff which is useful for life has not found its way in school.
So many
many students were not able to get education, or not able to afford school, or not able to go to, or not able to find a safe space.
So when you actually sit down in a safe space and have a reflective session with a bunch of people who are leading a district, you see that they didn't enjoy their education themselves. They were beaten as children. They were never given voice.
I think so many of us share a dream vision for an education system in the future that is really distinct from the past. We have dreams for teaching and learning that is more life-affirming, less rote, more human.
We want students to speak up.
School doesn't ask students while taking any decision, right? But we want to say that student is the main stakeholder of that school. So students should be asked for the decisions.
And I started to work with my Teach for Armenia teacher, and we make together movie club. And it is space where every and each person is equal with each other. And
so one of our teacher, Snail Didi, she got to us, and we came up with a project called the Project Kaleidoscope.
You breathed in this very polluted air that says that educators should have more power, more voice than students. And so I think it is really revolutionary to question that balance of power. And I think it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of courage.
I thought of why nobody is taking initiative in changing these problems, changing these things. Why are they being like this? Why is the government not doing any steps? I started to realize that blaming that nobody will change is not a good result. We must get inside it, and we must be an example for the change. We must be the start for the change.
I go to public parks and public places. I simply go, I take my djembe with me, I play it and I perform. I perform my poetries, I perform few songs, and main motto of it is to leave a social message saying to stop hatred or show equality, no discrimination.
Today we have 15 student leaders in our school with more than 6 pilot projects working on diverse issues. We're working with almost 400 people.
There's an African proverb that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together.
Speak up when they have confidence. So if you want to bring a change, you need to communicate. And to communicate, you need confidence.
For making people aware, it's some first thing we need to make ourselves aware, right? So we read about the policies, we read everything, what the policy contains, what are the information we need to collect for making people aware. And then we had people who are just going around in the area and doing surveys.
When you start being open to a person or frank, the other person shares their personal issues, why the person is not speaking up.
I live in a society where just not the friends who I have in my school I communicate with, but also with people who are in government schools. So when they come and tell me like I face these kind of problems, exams, and the teachers are like this, so I will be like, oh, we have to make a change. But then all these while, I've never taken a step to make a change. So I've been a hypocrite all these while. So that pushed myself, and then I came up with a plan I joined an organization called KER in Chennai.
The biggest problem which I found in my city was the garbage dump yard, Pirana garbage dump yard. The practical thing that I did was to research about the garbage dump yard and the things, diseases caused by it to the community people towards the area.
Suddenly we started knowing that there is some illegal work happening of chemicals and everything which is not allowed in. So like what I did, like I shooted everything in my pad, and like suddenly I was caught by some people. They took my iPad, they deleted everything, and they were saying like we will kill you and everything. And then like we had a fight. Then after that day I came back, and then the second morning I again went over there with my friends, and like we shooted everything over there.
There is
create a safe space where I can share something, where I can gain something. Okay.
Get ideas, different perspectives, and I also feel I can understand my strength as well as the weakness here. So I strongly feel we are all equal here. We are all equal. So each and every idea matters.
Because I want to do more things. I want to keep leveling up.
I would like to take it in a next level. I just want to do it better and to do it bigger.
I think we all need that belonging. I don't think that we can do our biggest, bravest, most powerful work without a space of safety and true connection, and KER fosters that.
It's time for us to leave. We are the ones we are waiting for. We are the ones we are waiting for.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to KER Chronicles Day 2. And once again, today at KER Community Building Spaces, we are here with amazing, talented students and educators who are just here to voice out what they have to, just to share what is the importance of expression. And again, like all our spaces, KER Chronicles is a very safe space for everybody. This is a non-judgmental space where participants feel free to express themselves without any hesitation or any particular first thoughts you particularly have. So once again, we have amazing bunch of participants who are here to share anything, poems, stories, and everything they would love to share. So Pooja, would you please take us to them?
Okay, so the first participant for today is Rohan from Mumbai. So Rohan is going to tell us about his project. You can screen share, Rohan.
Did you know that 97% of the child population in India attend school, but hardly any of the children get a quality education. Hello everybody. My name is Rohan Kejriwal. I am 11 years old and I am from the Bombay International School. Today I will talk to you about the project my friend and I did to educate students from municipal schools and spread awareness. But first, I will talk about why I decided to do this project and what work went behind it. Every year in 5th grade in the Bombay International School has an event called the PYP exhibition. The exhibition has different topics every year in which the students have to showcase their learnings from the past 5 years of being in the school. In the exhibition I was part of, the topic was the SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals founded by the United Nations in 2015. The United Nations set a goal to achieve all the SDGs by 2030. Some of these SDGs are gender equality, climate change, no poverty, and so on. But the SDG that really stood out for me was SDG 4, quality education. During this exhibition journey, we had many professional guest speakers. The speakers motivated me to work harder than ever on my project. During the process, we worked tirelessly by interviewing professionals, researching on the topic, and even reading books about it. Now, I will talk to you about what the project is and the different parts of it. For our initiative, my friend and I made a website called Educate, Enlighten, Empower. On this website, there were many different pages. These pages were the home page, the 15 questions page, and so on. Now I will take you through each page of the website. The home page. The home page is the starting page on our website. This page starts with some opening text which talks about our goal and some of the information we learned during our journey. This page also consists of an informative video. This video talks about the different facts of education in India. Through this video, our viewers will have a better understanding of the overall topic of quality education. We hope that this video will inspire our viewers to take action themselves. I will now give you a short glimpse of the video. The 15 questions page. To understand the topic deeply, we interviewed 6 amazing professionals. This series of interviews is called 15 questions because in each of the interviews we asked the guest 15 questions. As you can see, we have written a short description of each of the guests beneath the interview, on top of that their name. The interviewees immensely helped us with our research and our understanding of the topic. In fact, you can watch these interviews too on our website. They are very informative. The Stories for Children page. So, by now you all must be thinking, Arey yaar, this person is only talking about why we should take action, but he should also take some sort of initiative. If that is what you are thinking, we did take action ourselves. Both of us wanted to take direct action and educate students from municipal schools ourselves. So we decided to read stories for the students. But during this time, there was a big challenge we had to face. While finding stories to read, we found out that a lot of the stories were Americanized. For example, Jack and Jill went up the hill. They drank a cup of tea and ate chicken nuggets. Students from municipal schools in India would definitely not understand this. Finally, we ran into this amazing website called Storyweaver, which had all kinds of stories. So we created a Padlet, which is a website where you can upload videos and we started recording stories for children. All the stories we recorded were from Storyweaver. We then realized that how will only the two of us record so many stories for a lot of students? So we came up with a plan. Both of us sent an email to the students from grades 2 to 5 in our school and told them to contribute as well. Now we had enough videos. We have not sent the Padlet to municipal schools as yet, but we will be doing it shortly. The reflection page. On this page, both of us have done individual reflections. My friend's reflection is mainly focused on the overall topic of quality education, while my reflection is mainly reflecting on the interviews and what we learned from our guests. If you don't want to see all the interviews, you can just see my reflection, and if you don't want to read all the text and watch the informative video, you can just watch my friend's reflection. The sources of information page. If you want to see the amazing website we learned from while doing our research, click on the source of information page. There is some really cool information. And last, the About Us page. The About Us page is all about me, my friend and I. If you want to know who we are and why we started this initiative, watch the About Us video. Thank you so much for listening to this talk. I hope you get inspired by this talk and will think more carefully about quality education. Please check out our website and learn a lot from it. Thank you once more. Bye.
Thank you so much for that, Rohan. I think I can speak on behalf of everybody when I said that was super impressive. And I think that you spoke with a lot of clarity. Your website was very professional. Do send us the link in the chat box below. We'll check it out. Next, we have Monica, who's going to be performing something for us.
So, hello everyone, I'm Monica. So, I would like to present my journey towards the change of why I chose to be a change maker for LGBT community. So I usually present myself a philosopher because I think too much? No, not at all. Because whatever I think doesn't match with my surrounding. I'm a person who believes in the process of change. I have always wondered that our society is very specific about gender roles, expectations, and their privileges. For example, women will be housewives and men will be the earning person of the home. Similarly, society has always given a position to the LGBT community of ignorance. And without knowing about them, they set some kinds of prejudices and stereotypes for them. And being a typical Indian, our education system has a big role in this. As I'm a student and I'm very passionate to learn about different types of genders and explore them, but my school never helped me educating me about them. I'm very curious to know about and know them have made a change maker and have done role plays at several places, conducted surveys to know what people actually think about them and what will they do if they have one child, like lesbian, gay, sexual, bisexual, transgender, and all of them. Many of them were having very negative and abusive things, such as, how can you talk about such things? You are a girl, and you need not to be there. You are having so much opportunities as being a girl. I got many ignorance about why you're doing this. But still stuck in why society always ignores this community. But are always forced to set stereotypes for them. Sorry. But there was no chapter telling, what are genders and what are LGBT communities and all those things. Nothing like that. And keeping these things in my mind, here today I'm doing such creating some sessions and all that, so that people actually know what they are and their rights and all those things. That's it. And yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Monica. We could tell that you were very passionate about what you were saying. Next, we have Ume Habiba. She's dropped off, so we can have Kushi performing next for us.
Okay, so hello everybody. So I'm Kushi Singh. So before starting, I hope that I'm audible. So before starting with my poem, I would like to thank KER for giving this opportunity so that we can show our thoughts and our talents to everybody. So today I'll be sharing my poems with you all, and the base of poem is about how students feel when you take his or her voice, or how the feeling of student when you're not giving him or her their opportunity of speaking and raising his or her voice. So without wasting a time, I'll share my poem. Within the shadowy walls, I feel stuck, like caged with anonymous. My emotion finds door to run away. I need help, I pray. My absurd tongue forced me to scream, but when I opened my eyes, I realized I'm unaccompanied. My friends, my teachers, my body is kidnapped. The criminals have shattered me apart, pushed me down, and when I try to stand, I feel dragged by a hand. I eat my meal and sleep, awaiting impatiently to find a voice to raise. But when I jump, I realize I'm caged. I hope to dance to make an art, remembering my dreams large. I restlessly run to search my way to class where I have not been for a long time. I called the police and convicted the criminal. I took my shattered pieces apart and rejoiced used love and care to join them again. My story was fragile and devastating, but I had conquered over my ambitions. I'm no more sad, no more caged. I can jump, I can roar. I had a desire that I have conquered. So that was it. And I would also like to point out what does a criminal mean. So in my poem, the criminal is depicting to the educational system that we have in our country, the education which does not support voice of kids and which does not support kids to express themselves and to show their ideas, just because we think kids are just kids and they don't, like, their ideas are just worthless. So thank you for listening my poem. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Kushi, for that. I mean, the way you highlighted now what is the importance of true student voice, it was really, really nice. And I mean, the amount of relations you had with respect to criminal in the poem, I mean, I was really, really amazed with that. Next, we have Pramod, and let's see what Pramod has. Pramod, can you hear us?
Can I get 2 minutes? I would like to share about my school. So when I used to see kids reading books, and in library I used to see them. There were always have something that they used to miss, or they used to think that book is boring. But I feel that it makes kid more boring. So I used to make some bookmark bookmarkers, because it makes more kids get happy. And so so kind of with bookmark, get more happy to read, and always let them because they take the one they took bookmarkers, they get one to and bookmarks to get help and more interest in that.
Okay, I guess we had some internet issues, but no problem. We have lots of people who are here with power pack performances. Anyways, thank you, Pramod, for just being here and sharing your views. Let's have Sindhu Priya next, and let's see what Sindhu Priya has for us. Sindhu Priya, you can come.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I hope I'm audible. I'm Sindhu from Avsar Academy. I'm here to share an journey that always motivates me to approach new things. And let me tell you, through this journey, I have learned three things. One is utilizing the opportunity that is available, and then learn from the experience, and believing in yourself that I will do and I can do. Let me tell you, I know for 2020 was difficult for many of us for various ways and reasons. But for me, it was depressing and hopeless. I was bored watching same people again and again, watching repeated movies again and again, and and also scared knowing this current status quo outside. And I used to also post status in a way that people used to worry about me that I am going through some disease, but actually I'm not. After listening to that, you might feel pity on me, but that's okay. However, in this process, I started to explore myself. I identified likes and dislikes, strength and AODs, and then I started to spend more with myself. And then there is a feeling that evolved in me that I need to do something. I need to use this time productively and thoughtfully. Then I remember, like when I was searching for quotes, I remember one quote where it says it's okay to struggle, but it's not okay to give up. And I strongly believed in that quote, and I really didn't want it to give up. I started to search for opportunities, and then one fine day, Gayatri Didi, OATFI fellow, who approached me if I can work with them as a co-teacher. And then I really didn't want to miss this opportunity. Without giving a second thought, I approved it, and then I started to work with them. Before working with them, Zivaya, who is from ZLC, Z Learning Center, he actually interviewed me if I'm eligible for this job. Unfortunately, I was. My responsibility as a co-teacher was I need to take attendance, look after the students if they're attending the classes or not, clarify doubts, correct the test papers and homework. And also I used to spend 1 hour with them as a studier. If they have any doubts, I can clarify. And I worked with them for 6 months. Through this process, I realized how a teacher works effortlessly to motivate and encourage a student. And every day I used to remember a teacher who taught me, and I used to appreciate and be grateful for them being as my teacher. And it was, playing a teacher role was a bit difficult, grabbing their traits, the way the relationship with the student, learning that relationship. So I used to observe Zibaya and Gayatri classes. I used to learn from them and I used to apply. And parallelly, I used to also study. So I was in 10th grade last year. So I was also working and I was also studying. Throughout the 6 months, I learned to take ownership, be accountable, to be humble, and also be punctual and giving quality work, being self-restrained and believing in me. These are the few things which I learned, and these are something helping me to, grow up myself and be who I am. And one of the highlight of this experience is that I earned 2,500 per month working as a co-teacher. And I'm really proud to say that I was also part of helping my family get enough sufficient groceries. And, one of the biggest achievement that I made during this pandemic, the situation was really bad. And as everyone was suffering, we as families were also suffering. And getting those 2,500 as a salary was a wow moment for me, and I was really really proud of myself. And then I actually utilize this opportunity for good purpose. I pushed myself, like I actually pushed myself to come out from that situation where I was depressed, hopeless, and then I started to learn identify myself, then finding a hope, and then working very hard to improve myself. Now teaching become a passion to me, and I am very very fascinated to work with kids and children. And I created a friendly environment with the kids which I work. Till now they always approach me if they have any doubts, or if I can help with them for anything. And I, like, this journey was incredible. Like, I am very happy to share this journey with you all. Like, this actually motivated me to do anything. Now I also, like, this also motivated me to be part of here, to share my experience. And now currently I'm also working with ZLC. And yeah, that's it. Like, I'm thanks for giving this platform to share my experience, and thank you.
Okay, Sindhu Priya, that was so powerful. You have highlighted really an important cause, that the pandemic is not about, you, some people say that pandemic is good, it's inspiring, but at the deep inside the pandemic there are some harsh truths that our students are facing right now. And thank you so much for bringing that up. And it was really inspiring to have you. Next up we have Mohit. And Mohit Joshi, you can come off video and you can start.
Hi everyone, it's Mohit Joshi here. I used to love and explore the flora and fauna. It makes me almost sensitive towards the nature, and be sensitive and localize the things, and think of the things. So here I am with one of my poem written by me. So let's start. ख्यालों के बवंडर में डूबे सपाट दिमाग के भीतर मौकों की तलाश में गुमराह पड़ा हूँ, उंगलियों को फिर मोड़कर कुदरती दरवाजा खटखटा रहा हूँ। वहां सवालों का अंबार है आया, कई उलझन में फिर मैं फंसाया। क्या पता होगा इन तितलियों को कि भगवान ने इन्हें इतना सुंदर बनाया। किसने कहा मेढकों से घर में आओ, सारे कीड़ों को गप कर जाओ। अब चूहों को क्यों दावत में बुलाया, कपड़ों में रास्ता बनाना किसने सिखाया। इन पेड़ों को किसने इतना बड़ा बनाया, सारे पक्षियों का घर बनाया। इस मधुमक्खी ने कैसे शहद बनाया, हमें क्यों नहीं शहद बनाना सिखाया। मम्मा मधुमक्खी ने हाथ सुझाया, इनके डंक में इतना जहर कहाँ से आया। अब बिल्ली को आईना क्यों दिखाया, सारे दिन बिल्ली को बिल्ली ने हाथ मिलाया। पता नहीं कैसे इतना रोचक संसार बनाया, सवालों के कटघरे में खड़ा, सवालों के कटघरे में खड़ा, खुद को महज एक इंसान पाया, खुद को महज एक इंसान पाया, भगवान ने हमें सिर्फ इंसान बनाया। थैंक्स अलॉट। थैंक यू।
Oh my God, Mohit, that was so beautiful. I am really fond of Hindi, and I really love that. And lots of good observations, like someone already mentioned in the chat, and really, really well done. Okay, next up we have Nikhil Bhaiya, and hi Nikhil Bhaiya, you can start.
Hello everyone, good evening, and this space is so exciting to see a lot of kids performing really good work. And Mohit, I really related to your poem. बहुत ही प्यारी poem थी कि मैं इस area में we have been working in climate change and I have been interacting with kids in Uttarakhand, and today's story is also around flora and fauna. So I really related to it, that how important it becomes for us to form that ecological bond with flora and fauna and then appreciate it. तो वो bond देखने को मिला। हालांकि मेरी जो कहानी है, I'm not sure whether it will finish in 7 minutes or not. I'll share my presentation. It's not a presentation actually, it is some of the documentation I did during my journey. So I think everyone is comfortable with Hindi, or do you want me to continue in English? Although the story will be better in Hindi. Okay. Can I have any feedback here? Okay. Anyway, I'll continue in Hindi then. Okay. So around 2 years ago, 2 साल पहले, I started working in Uttarakhand. तो मैं Teach for India का fellowship कर रहा था, and उसके बाद I started working in Uttarakhand. तो उत्तराखंड में चंपावत करके एक जगह है, ठीक है, जो काफी अंदर की माउंटेन्स हैं, हिमालयस हैं, और काफी रिमोट एरिया है वो। तो वहाँ पे I started working with an organization, और हम लोग स्कूल के साथ क्लाइमेट चेंज एजुकेशन पे काम कर रहे थे, ठीक है। तब तक मैं जो हमारा खुद का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है उस पर काम नहीं कर रहा था। आई वाज जस्ट वर्किंग ऑन डिजाइनिंग प्रोजेक्ट्स, डूइंग करिकुलम, डूइंग वर्किंग विद किड्स। और मेरा ये मानता था कि बच्चे अगर एक इकोलॉजिकल बॉन्ड क्रिएट करेंगे, अगर वो समझेंगे क्लाइमेट चेंज को, तो आने वाली जनरेशन एटलीस्ट कॉन्शियसली इस तरफ काम कर सकती है, ठीक है। और एक दूसरी चीज थी जो मैं जानता था कि स्टोरीज एक बहुत पावरफुल टूल हो सकती हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज को फाइट करने के लिए। लोगों को इंस्पायर करने के लिए स्टोरीज एक बहुत ही पावरफुल टूल होती है, ताकि हम जो आने वाली जनरेशन है उनको लेके जाएं समझने के लिए कि क्लाइमेट चेंज क्या है, और हमारी जो प्रीवियस जनरेशन है जो इस तरफ कोई एक्शन नहीं ले पाई है, या फिर जो जनरली रिस्पॉन्सिबल रही है क्लाइमेट क्राइसिस के लिए, वो वैसी गलतियां ना करें, एंड दे फील इंस्पायर्ड अबाउट क्लाइमेट चेंज। तो व्हेन आई वाज वर्किंग इन चंपावत, आई विल कम टू द स्टोरी। तो हम लोग एक वहां पे जो गांव है उनके नाम बड़े प्यारे हैं, जैसे खूनी बोरा, जानकी धार, ठीक है, बरशैनी, ऐसे करके छोटे छोटे गांव हैं। और वो जो गांव है वो मतलब कि एक तो उनका एनवायरनमेंट इतना प्यारा होता है कि वो गांव के नाम भी प्यारे हैं, और वहां पे जो लोग रहते हैं दे इंटरेक्ट वेरी ब्यूटीफुली विद यू। ओके, तो हम लोग जानकी धार में काम कर रहे थे। जानकी धार एक गांव है, और वहां पे एक स्कूल था। तो जो जानकीधार गांव का स्कूल था वो माउंटेन के बिल्कुल टॉप पे था, ठीक है। हालांकि एक सवाल है, मेरे पास समय नहीं है आपसे आपके आंसर जानने के लिए, बट मैं जनरली पूछता हूँ लोगों को कि वो जब माउंटेन्स में जाते हैं तो वो लोग क्या पसंद करते हैं, व्हाट डू दे लव अबाउट माउंटेन्स। ओके, एंड जनरली ये होता है कि हमारे पास बहुत सारी चीजें होती है ऑब्जर्व करने के लिए। माउंटेन्स में बहुत सारी चीजें होती है हम जो देखते हैं। जो एक चीज मुझे थोड़ी स्पार्कलिंग लगी ना वहां पे, कि एक तो वहां का फ्लोरा फोना बहुत रिच है, ठीक है। मुझे जो पहाड़ी कुत्ते होते हैं जो दे वेरी फ्लफी एंड ऑल, एंड इवन द शीप्स अराउंड, पीपल यू सी अ लॉट ऑफ नोमैडिक पीपल ट्रैवलिंग विद देयर शीप्स, देयर हर्ड्स, एंड बच्चे भी काफी इन्वॉल्व रहते हैं ऐसे इन्वायरमेंटल कामों में, और इवन अपने हर्ड्स को पानी पिलाने के लिए या जंगल में जो भी सामान इकट्ठा करने के लिए। तो उनका एक बॉन्ड बहुत ही स्ट्रांगली कनेक्टेड होता है आसपास के फॉरेस्ट एरिया से। तो जानकीधार गांव में भी ऐसा ही था। तो जब हम जानकीधार जाते थे चंपावत से, तो हमें हमारी स्कूटी कुछ 5 किलोमीटर नीचे खड़ी करनी पड़ती थी, और फिर हम ट्रैक करके स्कूल तक जाते थे। तो मुझे बहुत मजा आता था, क्योंकि वो सुबह हमें बहुत जल्दी जाना पड़ता था पहले तो, क्योंकि वो एक ट्रैक था, और सारे बच्चे उस ट्रैक में हमको मिलते थे। तो रास्ते में हम बहुत सारे प्लांट्स, बहुत सारे एनिमल्स इंटरेक्ट करते थे। और सिंस ये मई का महीना था, तो आप जो रोडोडेंड्रॉन बोलते हैं, जिसको बुरांश भी बोलते हैं, उसके फ्लावर्स निकले होते हैं। तो बहुत सारे फ्लावर्स उस महीने पे हिमालयस में देखने को मिलते हैं। और एक अच्छी बात है कि शायद शहरों में हम बच्चों को इतना इंटरेक्शन नहीं हो हमारे प्लांट्स के साथ, पर वहाँ के बच्चे हर जड़ी बूटी, हर प्लांट के बारे में सब जानते हैं कि भैया ये क्या काम आएगी, इस फ्लावर का हम शरबत बना सकते हैं, इस फ्लावर को हम खा सकते हैं, इस बेर को पकने देंगे। तो काफल और छोटे छोटे जो बेरीज आती हैं मई महीने में, वो वहां बहुत मिलती हैं। ठीक है, हालांकि तब तक मैंने, ये मेरा इनिशियल टाइम था कि मैं इंटरेक्ट कर रहा था लोगों से, तो इनिशियली मेरा 15-20 दिन तो इसी में चला गया कि मैं समझूं कि वहां का इकोसिस्टम कैसे वर्क करता है, लोगों के घर आर्किटेक्चर कैसे सस्टेनेबल है, पानी कहाँ से आता है लोगों का। ठीक है, और जब तक मैं ये समझने लगा तो मुझे बहुत सारी लेयर्स दिखने लगी। हालांकि हम कहते हैं कि क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है, पर अगर टेंजिबली मैं आपसे पूछूं कि आसपास कहाँ दिख रहा है, हम कहते हैं कि सी लेवल्स बढ़ रहे हैं, तो ये रिसर्च डेटा है। अगर हम बोल रहे हैं कि टेम्परेचर बढ़ रहा है, तो वो हम महसूस करते हैं या डेटा इकट्ठा करते हैं। और किसी जगह अगर आप रहेंगे एक लंबे दौर के लिए, या लोगों से जब आप बात करेंगे वहां से, वहां के जो बूढ़े लोग हैं उनसे, तो यू विल गेट टू नो कि व्हाट हाउ द क्लाइमेट हैज बीन चेंजिंग इन द पास्ट 50 इयर्स। ओके, एंड देन आई स्टार्टेड रियलाइजिंग कि क्लाइमेट चेंज जिसकी हम बात करते हैं, हालांकि बुक्स में या वेबिनार्स में, ठीक है, वो काफी प्रेटी एविडेंट है हिमालयस में, क्योंकि वो बहुत ही फ्रेजाइल इकोसिस्टम है। थोड़ा सा भी उतार चढ़ाव आया तो स्नो जल्दी मेल्ट कर जाती है। ठीक है, और इकोसिस्टम पे फर्क पड़ता है, वहाँ की जो ग्रीनरी है या जो प्लांट्स हो रहे हैं, जब फोना है वहाँ का, फ्लोरा फोना है, उस पर भी काफी प्रभाव पड़ता है, राइट। और वहाँ के जो नोमैड्स हैं वो इन चीजों को काफी नोटिस करते हैं। उनकी ऑब्जर्वेशन स्किल्स काफी प्यारी है कि वो नोटिस करते हैं कि किन एरियाज में दे विल फाइंड फ्रेश ग्रास और नॉट, और किन एरियाज में दे कैन फाइंड सम हर्ब्स और नॉट। ये उनका जो नॉलेज है, विजडम है, जो ओवर द जनरेशंस उनको मिला है, वो काफी सॉलिडिफाई करता है इस फैक्ट को कि क्लाइमेट चेंज इज हैपनिंग एंड इट इज इम्पैक्टिंग पीपल, इट इज इम्पैक्टिंग देयर लाइवलीहुड्स, it is impacting the whole community at once. Okay, so the story is about a little girl. Okay, I just narrated you the whole premise of the story right now, and the story is about this girl. Her name was Kashish. Okay, and she used to come from Khuni Bora to Janki Dhar. ठीक है, वो काफी पैदल चल के स्कूल तक आती थी. I see some messages. Okay, wait. Yeah, so जो कशिश थी, she used to come from खूनी बोरा, and उसका जो गांव था ना, वहां से वो बहुत सारे बच्चे से ग्रुप में आते हैं पहाड़ों में ऐसा होता है कि घर बहुत दूर दूर होते हैं, तो एक बच्चा घर से निकलेगा, वो दूसरे को लेगा, अरे चलो चलो, सो इकट्ठे होते हुए वो ना एक टोली बन जाती है पूरी की पूरी, एंड वो स्कूल पहुंचते हैं। तो कशिश की जो टोली थी उसमें खूनी बोरा से बहुत सारे बच्चे थे, और उसके बाद एक दो गांव और पास में थे जहां से बहुत सारे बच्चे थे। तो अलग अलग टोलियां, अलग अलग रास्तों से, अलग अलग पगडंडियां जिनको बोलते हैं पहाड़ों में, उन पगडंडियों से स्कूल तक पहुंचती थी, और फाइनली हम लोग भी वहां पहुंच जाते थे। ठीक है, तो ये रास्ते में हमें बच्चे दिख जाते थे, और ये काफी रिस्की रहता था टू बी ऑनेस्ट। अगर बारिश होगी तो ये काफी फिसलन वाला है, एंड यू हैव टू बी वेरी अडेप्टेड टू वॉक ऑन दिस माउंटेन्स बिकॉज दे आर प्रीटी हाई माउंटेन्स। ठीक है, एंड मैं काफी बार उनको सवाल पूछता था कि यार आप 5-5, 6-6, 7-7 किलोमीटर रोज आते हैं, तो क्या एक्साइटिंग रहता है आपके लिए? तो वो अलग अलग चीजें बताते थे। किसी बच्चे को पेड़ों से इंगेज करने में मजा आता है, कुछ अटखेलियां वो रास्ते में करते हुए आते हैं, कुछ लोग झरने में नहाने के लिए आ जाते हैं कि चलो स्कूल जा रहे हैं, इस बहाने रास्ते रहे, झरने में हम लोग नहाएंगे, या फिर कुछ इकट्ठा कर आएंगे, ऐसा कुछ करके। ठीक है, तो बहुत ही प्यारे बच्चे थे। अब ये जो कशिश थी ना, ये बहुत शांत रहती थी क्लास में इनिशियली। ठीक है, बहुत ही ऐसे चुपचाप बैठी रहती थी। ठीक है, एंड आई यूज्ड टू टॉक टू हर अबाउट थिंग्स कि व्हाट डज शी लाइक एंड ऑल। एंड फिर हमने एक बार पेंटिंग का शुरू किया, सो आई यूज्ड टू ड्रॉ मुरल्स एंड ऑल, एंड शी केम टू टेल मी दैट कि ड्यू टू द मेल्टिंग ऑफ, अभी स्नोफॉल वगैरह यहाँ पे नहीं हो रहा है, एंड अभी ना वाइल्ड बोर्स और बहुत सारे जंगली जानवर इनके फार्म्स में अटैक करते हैं, बिकॉज देयर इज नॉट मच फॉरेस्ट लेफ्ट इन द एरिया, और आइदर जो फॉरेस्ट बचे हैं वो पाइन फॉरेस्ट रहे हैं। दैट्स अ वेरी मोनोटोनस ग्रोथ ऑफ पाइन्स दैट हैज बीन डन बाय द ब्रिटिशर्स, बिकॉज दे वांटेड पाइन्स फॉर वुड एंड टर्पेंटाइन जो ऑयल उससे निकलता है। तो उस मोनोकल्चर की वजह से वहां के जो लोकल फॉरेस्ट थे ना, जिसमें बांज, ये अपना रोडोडोड्रॉन या फिर ओक के जो ट्रीज थे, वो खत्म हो गए। ठीक है, और वहां के जो गांव वाले हैं उनका जो कल्चर है वो इन ट्रीज के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट रहा है। ठीक है, तो इन गांवों में जैसे वो फॉरेस्ट खत्म हुए, तो द एनिमल्स विल स्टार्ट अटैकिंग देयर फील्ड्स, दे स्टार्टेड अटैकिंग देयर फार्म्स, दे विल ईट अप ऑल देयर पोटैटोस व्हिच दे ग्रो, राजमा चावल, राजमा थोड़ा होता है उस एरिया में, राजमा, आलू, शकरकंद, एंड थोड़े एप्पल के भी ऑर्चर्ड्स वगैरह हैं। ठीक है, एंड दिस ड्यू टू दिस कशिश के घर पे जो फार्म था, इट वाज अटैक्ड although they tried many new practices, they tried to use fireworks, they tried to stay awake at night to shoo the wild boars away, but it didn't work. So this was a challenge for the whole community. Ki how do they make sure ki the wild boar is not attacking their fields? And when I heard her story, and then she mentioned कि अभी तो water का भी crisis, they are facing a lot of water crisis. I showed you this picture, the second picture here. This is a nola. So in mountains, they generally use a nola for getting water. So in जो nola होता है, it is a water spring, and the water which is stored in the mountain, it comes out. Okay. So वो recharge कैसे होगा when snowfall will happen. So if ample of snowfall is there, so this will get recharged and then it will give water during the summer months. But in Janki Dhar, what was happening is they were facing a water crisis. ठीक है, क्योंकि स्नोफॉल बहुत कम हो गया था, ना के बराबर था, काफी सालों से नहीं हुए. वाटर भी बहुत ही किसी सीजन में बहुत ज्यादा हो जाती है, किसी में बहुत कम. सो इस वजह से दे स्टार्टेड लाइक फीलिंग कि थिंग्स वर नॉट प्रीटी गुड इन द विलेज. पीपल हैड टू, द स्कूल में भी पानी, जो ऊपर में हाइट में घर थे वहां पे पानी की प्रॉब्लम थी. स्कूल में पीने का पानी कभी कभी हमको मिलता था या बच्चे घर से लेके आते थे. एंड मुझे काफी ऐसा सरप्राइजिंग लगा कि माउंटेन्स में ये चैलेंज आ रहा है कि why we are facing this challenge in mountains. Okay, and so we heard of this story and we started sitting up in circles and we started discussing about our stories, and finally we came up with a story from Kashish where she mentioned what are the challenges they're facing in their household, in their village, and then we tried painting a mural with the kids. I'll show you further here. And so when we were painting the mural, you can see the kids on the right side painting some murals, and the passerby, the women, and they will wait and they will see. And kids came up with this story. Okay, so they decided of the story. The girl here you see is the Kashish, and she painted like how world wars are attacking, what kind of challenges they're facing. Okay, so this was all imaginative what kids came up, and this took us almost a week to paint. And finally, this is the classwork, the whole class, which the tolias which I was talking to you about. ये जो अलग अलग टोलियां आती थी गांव में, they were so surprising, very bubbly kids with girls with 2 chotis and ribbons also. So it was an exciting thing that we spent. We painted other things as well, but this was very close because this was a story which came from Kashish, and how she tried to portray how she was related to farming and all. Okay, so and we realized that we all grow when we are all together, when we support each other, when we come together to listen out to each other's story, and we help each other. So that's all. I hope that we keep helping each other, supporting each other to grow. Thank you very much for this platform, and I hope that every kid in India, in every city, is the kind of vision we are going to have. We come together and we help each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nikhil, for sharing that incredible work and those incredible stories also. I mean, yes, once again, very grateful to have you. Really loved the idea of the wall paintings itself. And yes, to give our performance, that our performers, that we are now on Facebook Live, and YouTube performances have, like we have to end the YouTube live stream. Next up,
We are living in a world that needs to change. We have found our voice, we know we have a choice. Our little light is shining bright. We're all made of stars, and the future's ours. Just watch us shine, we may be small, but hear us roar. We can change the world, now watch us soar. We know what we need, it's time for us to lead. We are the ones we are waiting for. We can put our broken world back together. We're diamonds in the rough, we can be wise and tough. You try to bury us, but we are seeds. We won't be shy or scared, we'll arrive prepared. Just watch us shine, we may be small, but hear us roar. We can change the world, now watch us soar.
gotta rise up when the times are tough. We gotta rise up when we're out of luck. We gotta rise to the occasion, change the equation, make sure that we help raise education. To every student in the world, this is your creation. What we do now is a gift for generations to come. So don't let them tell you that we're done, cause we're just getting started, so tell them we've just begun. Yeah.
Just watch us shine.